Chapter 642. So what? Do I need a reason not to like you? I just want you to die. Do you think you like me just because of that? Tang Xin snorted. Li Dun smiled bitterly. This was the first time he showed such a helpless expression. Feelings are vague when they don't come. But once they come, you can't reject them. It's so clear that it's scary. Li Dun shook his head and smiled. Miss Tang Xin, I won't ask you why you hate me so much. I believe you'll tell me if you want to. But please believe me. It's because you're special that I'm interested in you. That's why I fell in love with you at first sight. I like you. This was the second time, the second confession. Tang Xin didn't know how to respond. She couldn't tell Li Dun that she hated him because she had Yin Buan in her heart. That was why she hated this man who was as famous as Yin Buan. She could only frown and mumble. You're a madman. Madman, huh? Maybe. Miss Tang Xin, will you marry me? Li Dun laughed self-deprecatingly. Then, his eyes lit up and he said seriously, Miss Tang Xin, will you marry me? This time, Tang Xin was stunned speechless. Li Dun suddenly took out a small red jewelry box from his pocket. He knelt down on one knee and opened the box in front of Tang Xin. Inside the box was a big, shiny diamond ring. It was at least 3 carats. It was priceless. He actually proposed to her directly? Time seemed to freeze. Tang Xin stared at the diamond ring in a daze. Li Dun had a rare look of sincerity on his face. Miss Tang Xin, I'm a soldier. Or rather, I'm a man who can die at any moment. At least before I take over the position of the Li family head, I'll be at the front line to carry out the most difficult missions. I don't have much time to stay in the peaceful Beijing city. I can't be like the other young masters. I love this country, and this country needs the protection of soldiers. I've never gotten drunk because I'm afraid that I'll be assassinated if I'm too slow. I've never slept in. I'm afraid that I'm not hardworking enough and that my skills are inferior to others on the battlefield. I have never been to a nightclub because I know that when I'm having fun, my men will die at any time in the front line. Miss Tang Xin, I've never told a girl that I like her because if I did, it would mean that I would definitely marry her. Maybe you think I'm very abrupt and rash, but I want to say that I'm a man who doesn't know when he'll die, so I don't want to die without a chance to confess everything to my beloved. So please forgive my directness. Miss Tang, I have to admit, if you marry me, I won't be able to accompany you every day, nor will I be able to take care of you all the time. But I swear with everything I have that I can. If I'm alive, I'll let you die in my arms for the rest of your life. If I'm dead, I'll watch over you from down there until the next life with you. Tang Xin, marry me. The earth-shattering words caused the air in the pavilion to tremble. Under the faint white light, a gentle breeze blew through the swaying flowers, exuding a delicate fragrance. After a long time, the hair in front of Tang Xion's forehead fluttered gently. Her eyes were sparkling. Was it happiness? Was it sadness? The only thing he could be sure of was that the anger on his face from before had completely disappeared. Li Dun's posture was still the same, his eyes determined and determined. Suddenly, Tang Xin let out a sad smile. At that moment, the young girl revealed the vicissitudes of life that were rare among her peers. It was as if this was the real her. Young masterly, Tang Xin smiled. Her tone was much gentler, but she shook her head. I refuse. A hint of disappointment flashed across Li Dun's eyes. He said in a low voice, You still can't accept it? That's right, I was too impatient. You're a good girl. It's normal that you can't accept it. I'm sorry, I might have been too mean to you in the past. Tang Xin bit her lips. Her eyes were red. I'm really grateful to you. Ever since I was young, I've never met a man who said such words to me. There's never been a man who was willing to cherish me so much. Li Dun Shan said, But you still don't want to marry me, right? That's because Tang Xin shook her head. I'm not good enough for you. I'm just the most insignificant girl in the Tang clan. Ever since I was young, I've been mediocre in everything. When it comes to academics, I'm not as good as Sister Tang Wan. When it comes to business, I'm not as good as Don Huang. I don't have any talent, I'm not smart, and I'm not a good girl either. Because I'm useless, I can only do my best to take care of Grandpa. Actually, everyone knows that I can't take care of Grandpa. It's just that Grandpa wants me to do something. Li Dun frowned. his eyes filled with pity. Miss Tang Xen, you might say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but to me, you're not as bad as you think. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. No one is perfect. You're just not confident enough. To be honest, after I met you, I've looked through your information. Please forgive me. I just want to know more about you. I don't care if you're ordinary or not. To me, it's admirable that a young girl like you could accompany an old man for so many years, no matter the reason. You're not a useless girl. Your perseverance and perseverance are much better than most girls. Tang Xen lifted her head and wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. She smiled. Young Master Li, you don't have to praise me. I know my place very well. Go back. I'm not the person you should be looking for. I'm very happy today that you've given me such a pleasant surprise. But the diamond ring on your finger, it's destined not to be mine. If it's possible, maybe in the next life. If you don't mind, I might say yes. If there really is a next life, Tang Xen said in a daze, her face full of sorrow. Li Dun suddenly laughed heartily. Miss Tang Xen, you're looking down on me. Once I've made up my mind, even 100 bulls can't change it. Today, you rejected my proposal, so I'll go back first. But I'll come find you again, and I'll propose to you again. Even if it's in front of everyone, I won't mind. Tang Xen was stunned. You, why do you have to do this? I won't say yes. It doesn't matter. Whether you say yes or not, I'll do my best. Besides, you've at least changed your attitude towards me, so of course I won't give up. Believe me, I don't just want you in the next life, I want you in this life. Li Dun sighed. It's a pity that I can't stay in Beijing for long. Otherwise, I'd be willing to propose to you every day. Hee, Miss Tang Xen, don't worry. I'll use my own strength to pursue you. I won't force you to marry me. As for whether or not that day will come, it's up to you. I'll continue doing what I'm supposed to do. Having said that, Li Dun stood up and put the ring away. He stretched his back, and the sincerity on his face disappeared without a trace. He returned to his normal self and turned around to leave. Tang Xen looked at Li Dun's back as he walked away. She sighed, and the corner of her mouth twitched. She mumbled to herself, if only you were the one who proposed to me just now. Bowen, Yang Cheng, who followed Tang Wan and Tang Tang to their house, had no idea what was going on in the quiet garden. But Yang Cheng wasn't interested in why Li Dun like Tang Xen. Yang Cheng thought that staying in the Tang clan was not bad. He was still thinking about how he could help Tang Wan find the culprit behind the poisoning, but now it was convenient. Tang Wan and Tang Tang had a high status in the family. The villa they lived in was close to the heart of the city. It was about 400 square meters, and it even had a swimming pool. There was nothing wrong with Tang Wan's body. Under Yang Cheng's care, Tang Wan looked even younger and prettier than before. She looked like she was in her 20s again. Along the way, Tang Tang held onto her mother's hand. Mother and daughter looked like sisters no matter how one looked at them. They chattered nonstop, leaving Yang Chun to the side. When they entered the villa and walked up to the second floor, Tang Wan pointed to a room in the west and said, Yang Cheng, you can stay in that room. The servants cleaned up the guest room, so you can stay there anytime. If you need clothes, just let the servants downstairs know. Before Yang Cheng could nod, Tang Tang giggled and said, Mom, there's no one else here. I won't tell anyone. You guys can sleep together if you want. You don't have to worry about me. Tang Wan blushed. She reached out and slapped her daughter's butt. Stupid girl. How dare you make fun of me? Who said I wanted to sleep together? You're so young, but you don't learn anything good. You're full of crooked ideas. Let me tell you, don't think you're an adult. You're not allowed to think about these things. You're not allowed to sleep with your brother Yuanya before you get married. Tang Tang stuck out her tongue. I'm talking about you guys. Why are you talking about me and brother Yuanya? With brother Yuanya's character, even if I'm willing, he'll still be afraid. He doesn't have the guts to do it. Tang Wan rolled her eyes. She really couldn't do anything about her daughter. I think I've really spoiled you. Stop nagging. Go back to your room and sleep. Tang Tang made a face and muttered, You're afraid of people talking about what you think. Seeing that Tang Wan was about to hit her, but again, she quickly ran back to her room and slammed the door. Only then did Tang Wan let out a sigh of relief. She put her hands on her hips and turned to look at Yang Cheng. However, she saw that Yang Cheng was actually looking at her with a strange expression. You? What's wrong with you? Tang Wan felt a little weak all over. Yang Cheng's gaze seemed to be able to see through her. Yang Cheng didn't think too much about it at first. However, with Tong Tong's reminder, the flame that had been suppressed for a long time was ignited. Actually, he had wanted to do something with Tang Wan a long time ago. However, things kept happening one after another. Now, the whole house was really his and Tang Wan's little world. Tang wasn't a problem at all. He also hadn't been able to vent his anger for a long time. The Tang Wan in front of him had the complexion of a young girl, but her figure was well-developed and graceful. She also had the charm of a mature and beautiful woman. She wore a simple black lace dress that wrapped around her beautiful upper body, revealing an alluring ravine in the middle of her plump chest. The round and fair thighs under the short skirt looked incomparably tight. Yang Cheng clicked his tongue and pretended to be serious as he said, "Wanner, we weren't able to settle this serious matter at the hotel. Why don't we continue that matter tonight? In the hotel?" Tang Wan immediately understood. Yang Cheng was referring to the past, when they had booked a room at the Maple Forest Hotel but had been interrupted midway. Tang Wan's face instantly turned as red as a peach. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Yang Cheng. Back then, she had already liked the man in her heart. Now that things had progressed to this point, of course she would only love him more and more. Moreover, her grandfather's life, her own life, and even her family were all saved by him. Tang Wan couldn't think of any reason to reject a man, or rather, she was very willing. "Aren't you afraid that your wife will be jealous?" Tang Wan noticed that Yang Cheng was approaching her and finally muttered softly. At this moment, Yang Cheng's nose and mouth were filled with the pleasant smell of Tang Wan's body fragrance mixed with the fragrance of milk. Hearing such a sensitive question, he couldn't be bothered to pay any more attention and said, "You already fell into the pit back then, and you still want to pretend that nothing happened? What's the use of saying that now? Be good. Tell me which room you are in." Tang Wan carefully pointed to the east, the innermost room. Without saying a word, Yang Cheng carried Tang Wan's soft body horizontally and strode towards the woman's room. Tang Wan simply closed her eyes. Speaking of which, although she had been a mother for so many years, it was her first time doing that kind of thing with a man. It would be nonsense if she said she wasn't nervous. Chapter 643. Late at night, in the study room of the Li family's mansion in Beijing, the light illuminated a small area, and three figures leisurely surrounded the desk. There was a pot of steaming white tea on the table, the rich aroma of the tea wafting in the air, calming and intoxicating. Li Mozhen sat in his chair, holding the evening paper in one hand and his own purple clay tea set in the other, taking small sips from time to time, without saying a word. Li Yunpeng sat in his chair, staring at his son, Li Dun, his face troubled, his eyes filled with reproach. Li Dun pretended not to know anything. He crossed his legs and closed his eyes as if he was taking a nap. Finally, Li Yunpeng couldn't hold it in any longer. He asked, "You really like that girl from the Tang family?" Li Dun opened his eyes and nodded. "Didn't I just say it? You two didn't hear me wrong." "You." Li Yunpeng looked conflicted. He shook his head and sighed. "I introduced you to so many good young ladies, but you just had to choose that Tang Xin. You don't know. She's not as simple as she looks." Li Dun shrugged. "I know. I don't think that a woman who treated me with disdain and hatred the first time we met is just a young girl who's taken care of by an old man. I also know that she might be hiding something that cannot be brought to light." "Then why do you still want to pursue her?" Li Yunpeng frowned. "Because I can feel it. I can feel that I like her." Li Dun smiled proudly. "Don't joke like that." Li Yunpeng couldn't help but raise his voice. All right. Li Mozhen finally put down the newspaper and said helplessly, "I asked you two to stay with me for a while. Why do you have to talk about this?" Li Yunpeng was no longer calm. He said anxiously, "Father, how can I not be anxious about this stupid kid's marriage? I was anxious when you married your wife, but you still married her and gave birth to this stupid kid, didn't you?" Li Mozhen joked. Li Yunpeng was embarrassed. He quickly said, "That's not the same. Back then, our families just didn't match, but Tang Xin is." Li Yunpeng wanted to say it, but when he remembered that it was still a secret, he swallowed it back down. Li Mo's hen shook his head and said, "What's the difference? The men of our Li family either don't like someone, or once they do, they won't change their mind. It doesn't matter why Dun or likes Tang Xian. Since it's already happened, why should we lock him up and not let him find Tang Xian?" Li Dun chuckled. "Old man, you're a reasonable man. Besides, you can't lock me up even if you want to. Don't get too full of yourself." Li Mo's hen snorted. Tang Xian's background isn't simple, and she's not easy to deal with either. Even though it's still a secret, if you want to know why she hates you, I can tell you. Don't, don't, please don't. Li Dun said don't 3 times and wave his hand. "I don't want to hear the reason, and I don't want to hear any secrets. Anyways, I don't care why she hates me. If I want to know, I want to find out myself, or she will tell me herself. Besides, since you didn't tell me in a hurry, it must have nothing to do with the Li family. So I don't care. Humph. Don't blame us for not telling you when you get the short end of the stick." Li Yunpeng was clearly unhappy. "Dad, no matter what, she's the first woman your son has ever liked. She's going to be your daughter-in-law in the future. Do you really have to curse her like this?" Li Dun pouted. "Daughter-in-law? Humph. If you can really make Tang Xian our daughter-in-law one day, no matter what she did in the past, I'll accept it. I'm just afraid you don't have what it takes," Li Yunpeng said disdainfully. "Just you wait and see. I don't believe that she won't agree if I go to her door every day and propose to her." Li Mo's hen rubbed his eyebrows as he listened to his 2 grandchildren bickering. He interrupted, all right, it's not a big deal. Dunner isn't a kid anymore. He can't do everything every day." Li Yunpeng didn't say anything else. He picked up his teacup and drank his tea with a frown. Li Mo's hen turned to Li Dun and asked, "Did you spar with Yang Cheng today?" Li Dun immediately became excited again. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "Old man, guess who won?" Li Mo's hen sighed helplessly. "Nonsense, of course you lost. Even if I didn't hear the reports from my subordinates, I would have guessed it. Tis tsk boring," Li Dun said dejectedly. To be honest, it wasn't really a spar. He basically didn't move a single step from the beginning to the end. In front of him, I was like a 3-year-old fighting a 30-year-old man. Of course, Li Mo's hen smiled mysteriously. Right now, there's only one force in the world that can stop Yang Cheng. No one else can do anything to him. If you have the time, try to build a good relationship with him. Whether it's for your own cultivation or for the relationship between the Li family and the Yang family, it'll be very beneficial. Li Dun yawned. Whether he returns to the Yang family or not is a problem. I don't really care about that. But he's a good person. He doesn't have as many tricks as other people. I'll treat him to a bowl of ramen next time. The money saved can be used to buy a gift for Tang Xian. This, old man, I've been chasing after a girl recently. Why don't you give me more pocket money?" Scram. Even though it was the season of spring, the temperature in Beijing was still rather cold in the morning. Early in the morning, a thin curtain of light shone through the brown frame of the floor-to-ceiling window and onto the oak floor, reflecting the light. On the spacious double bed, a voluptuous woman's body was tightly wrapped around a strong man. 2 perfectly round, white, slender jade legs without the slightest bit of fat were staggered over the man's abdomen. A coffee-colored silk was barely covering the white area between her chest and abdomen. A head of black hair was scattered beside the pillow, covering half of her pretty face. The part of her face that was exposed was faintly blushing. The man opened his eyes when he felt the sunlight becoming more dazzling. He clicked his tongue and almost drooled as a smug smile appeared on his face. Lowering his head, he looked at the beautiful person who was sleeping soundly in his arms. Yang Chen's gaze couldn't help but follow the lines of Tang Wan's chest. The unfathomably deep ravine was formed by 2 plump and delicate mounds. At this moment, her naked upper body was tightly pressed against him. Yang Cheng could clearly feel the smooth sensation brought by the chopsticks. Last night, Yang Cheng had been in bed all the way until the wee hours of the morning before he reluctantly went to sleep. When he thought of the ecstasy, he wished he could immediately wake up Tang Wan and do it a few more times. However, it was Tang Wan's first experience in this area. If it wasn't for the treatment of his endless resolve restoration scripture, which restored her body functions to the level of her youth, it would have been impossible for her to last until midnight. Tang Wan's skin was much more delicate and smooth than many young women. Her figure had reached the peak of a woman's beauty. Everything was in perfect proportions. The moment she took off her clothes, Yang Chung could only think of Catherine, the Queen of Wales, who was comparable to her. However, Tang Wan's classical Oriental beauty was completely different from Catherine's wild Western beauty. The desire to reject yet welcome that emanated from her made Yang Chung sigh. Even if he was worse than a beast, he couldn't let go of such a beauty. Men were often creatures with the lower half of their bodies. No matter how guilty they felt after the matter, they couldn't think of anything else when they really wanted to do it. At this moment, Tang Wan seemed to have a beautiful dream. She suddenly raised her head and revealed a pure and sweet smile. On this face, without any makeup, the charm of a mature woman and the delicateness of a young woman blended together, highlighting an exceptionally dazzling charm. Yang Chung stared at those pink lips and couldn't help but lower his head to peck them. Tisk. In her sleep, Tang Wan felt as if she had been bitten on her lips. She woke up immediately and opened her eyes in a daze. Only then did she realize where she was and what had happened. Blinking her eyes, Tang Wan didn't reveal the slightest shyness. After all, she wasn't at the age to be shy. After a period of adaptation last night, Tang Wan also became exceptionally confident, especially when she realized that her body was far more energetic than she had imagined. Tang Wan wasn't worried about letting her young lover down. After being kissed by Yang Chung, Tang Wan wrinkled her nose and raised her head to kiss the corner of Yang Cheng's lips. "Did you sleep well?" Yang Cheng hugged Tang Wan's body and asked warmly. "I don't know when I fell asleep. When I woke up, it felt like a dream." Tang Wan closed her eyes and said slowly. Yang Cheng smiled. "Why is it a dream?" "Because I feel that everything is too perfect. This doesn't seem like something I should get," Tang Wan said. Yang Cheng was silent. He didn't quite understand what Tang Wan meant. Perhaps Tang Wan's requirements were too low, and he, as a man, was taking advantage of her. Yang Cheng. Tang Wan opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were a little hazy. "I miss you." Yang Cheng was stunned. "I'm right by your side. What do you want me to do? Even if you're in front of me, I still miss you. I really, really miss you." Tang Wan opened her arms and hugged Yang Cheng's waist. "I'm not afraid that you'll laugh at me if I say it out loud. Actually, after I gave birth to Tang Tang, I've always been looking forward to meeting a man I like one day. When I woke up in the morning, I was lying in his arms. Although I told my grandfather that it didn't matter if I didn't get married, as long as I had a daughter and a brother. But I'm just being stubborn." Yang Chung lightly patted Tang Wan's shoulder with one hand and didn't say anything. "Do you know, I really want to melt you into my body right now, because as long as I think about getting up, I can't bear to part with it," Tang Wan said bitterly. Yang Chung grinned and said, "Why are you making it sound so scary? What do you mean by melting? How about this? Let me eat you. That way it'll be faster." Tang Wan looked at Yang Cheng's evil smile and immediately realized something. She hurriedly shook her head. "No, it's already dawn. What if Tang Tang comes looking for me? That girl is very sensible. She knows that her mother needs a man and not a daughter at this time. Come, come, come. If you're tired, you don't have to move. I'll do it." Yang Cheng chuckled. He pulled off the blanket and pressed Tang Wan under his body. He didn't care about Tang Wan's coy struggle and planned to mount his horse with his spear. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to attack Tang Wan's mysterious position, he heard Tong Tong's delicate voice from outside the door. "Uncle, Mom, get up." Chapter 644. Yang Chung, who was about to start, was discouraged and said gloomily, "How did you know that the girl would come and shout?" Tang Wan chuckled and blushed. "This is called the mother-daughter bond." Yang Chung rolled his eyes at her. "Save it. I think that girl is clearly not going to let me have a good time. Come out quickly. I'm hungry. I want to eat breakfast." Tang Tang shouted again in a sweet voice. Yang Chung wanted to bang his head on the wall, turned around and shouted at the door, "Can't you eat first?" "No, no. Get up quickly, or I'll open the door myself." Shameless. Shameful. This time, The voice came through the door. Obviously, Tang Dang was ready to barge in at any time. Tang Wan was anxious and said, Tang Tang, Mommy will get up soon. You go downstairs and wait. If Tang Tang, that girl who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, rushed in, and the two of them were naked, Tang Wan really wanted to die. This time, Yang Chung had no choice. Tang Wan still had to be dignified in front of her daughter, so he had to slowly get up with Tang Wan. When he left the room and went downstairs, the Tang family servants had already filled the dining table with exquisite dishes. Tang Tang was sitting at the head of the table, chewing on a vegetable bun in one hand and drinking soy milk with a spoon in the other. Seeing Tang Wan and Yang Chung coming downstairs, Tang Tang smiled ambiguously and said, Mom, I just found out last night that you can make such a loud sound. Is it comfortable? Tang Wan was about to sit down. Hearing this, her face suddenly turned bright red, and she angrily reached out to pinch Tang Tang's cheek. Unlucky child. You're eavesdropping. Tang Tang was pinched and slapped. She said with some ambiguity, No, who asked you to shout so loudly? I didn't sleep well last night. Don't you see I have dark circles under my eyes? You're still talking. Okay. I won't say it. Tang Tang pouted, feeling wronged. Yang Chung felt that this mother and daughter were very boring. One always said that she had grown up, but still talked nonsense about the relationship between men and women. The other wanted to show the dignity of a mother, but suddenly quarreled with her daughter. Breakfast was relatively leisurely. Tang Wan and her daughter had nothing to do, and Yang Chung was also waiting for the Choi Yun to come to Beijing, so he didn't have to go to work after eating like in the past. Tang Tang nibbled on an unknown number of steamed buns, and suddenly said, It's a pity that Uncle is too young and is not suitable to be a father. Otherwise, it would really be like a family. Tang Wan's face was dyed red again, and she glared at Tang Tang. What nonsense are you spouting? That's right, what's there to be shy about? Tang Tang said disdainfully. Yang Chung directly hit Tang Tang's head with a chestnut, rolled his eyes, and said, I haven't even said that I want such a troublesome girl like you to be my daughter, and you're already despising me. Tang Tang covered the place where she was hit and pouted, Mom, Uncle hit me. Tang Wan simply turned her head and didn't look at this girl. Feeling aggrieved, Tang Tang pointed at Yang Chung and gritted her teeth. Seeing that you saved this bad mother who values her lover more than her daughter, I, Tang Tang, will let you off today. Yang Chung directly ignored her harsh words and asked, Why aren't you back to Zhonghai for so long? Don't you need to go to class and revise? Our Jinxiu is very hard-working, and when the time comes, she might not even be able to go to university. Tang Tang said in a sweet voice, Humph, can those high school things stump me? I can enter the best university any time I want. Tang Wan sighed and said, Don't be arrogant. At most in a week, Mom will bring you back to Zhonghai. Don't, class is too boring. Tang Tang said coquettishly. Suddenly, Tang Wan's eyes widened and she raised her voice. Are you trying to freeze your bank account? Hearing that her account was going to be frozen, Tang Tang instantly lost all resistance and looked at Tang Wan before she obediently went back to eat her breakfast. Yang Chung was dumbfounded. So this was how rich families taught their daughters. Instead of using force, they used economic sanctions. All of a sudden, he felt that this was a pretty good move. If he had a child in the future, would Lin Ruoxi also use this move? Thinking about it, there was no need for any discipline. The child would probably be scared to the point that he wouldn't even dare to fart when he sees his mother. But thinking about children, Yang Chung sighed again. He had no idea what was going on with his body. Could it be that it was really because of the divine light that he couldn't get women pregnant? In the past, he had never thought about children. But now that he had a family, he couldn't help feeling hopeful when he saw the heartwarming scene of Tang Wan and her mother. Yang Chung was even considering if he should go to the Yang family to ask Yin Sanyang while he was in Beijing. The only person that he could find who might be able to give him some useful advice was that mysterious woman. At this moment, Yang Chung noticed that his phone was vibrating. He picked it up and saw that it was Lu Qingshan's number. Ever since he fell out with Lu Qingshan because of Gao Yu's matter, his cheap father-in-law had never spoken to him again. Yang Chung pondered briefly before he picked it up. After all, He was Lu Mingyu's father, and he couldn't possibly ignore him all the time. Father-in-law, why are you calling me so early in the morning? Yang Cheng asked politely. Lu Qingshan snorted, don't play games with me. I know that you don't take me seriously. But for you always' sake, I won't argue with you. I know that you're in Beijing, and you should have told you that I'm here too. Find some time, I'll bring you to meet someone. Yang Cheng knew that Lu Mingyu must have informed Lu Qingshan, hoping that they could make use of this opportunity to get along. She must have put in a lot of effort. Yang Cheng couldn't be bothered to ask who he was meeting. He said directly, I'm free these few days. Father-in-law, can you send a car to pick me up? I'll give you the address. How useless. You don't even have a car when you come to Beijing. Lu Qingshan was like a child who was trying to get back at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng smiled embarrassedly. He didn't want to argue with him too much. He told him the address and hung up. Tang Wan looked at Yang Cheng with a strange gaze and asked sourly, which beauty's father is that? As far as I know, Lin Ruoxi doesn't have a father anymore. Yang Cheng thought to himself, it's not that she doesn't have one, but Premier Ning doesn't dare to admit it. He said directly, it's Mingyu's father, Lu Qingshan. Tang Wan nodded in realization. I only found out a while ago that Lu Mingyu's father is Lu Qingshan. He's a local tyrant in Beijing. You're really close to the underworld in both Zhonghai and Beijing. I didn't think about it. That's how it is. Yang Cheng spread his hands and said, I'll go meet a few people later. Then you, Tang Wan pursed her lips and smiled. Go ahead. I'll bring Tang Tang to meet a few uncles. I haven't been back to Beijing for a long time, and I was poisoned not long after I came back. I haven't brought this child to visit many people yet. Tang Tang pouted and drew on her face with her fingers. She said, Uncle, you're the most shameless pervert I've ever seen. Shame on you. Yang Cheng picked up a bun and stuffed it into the girl's mouth. Tang Tang choked and couldn't say a word. When it was almost time to meet Lu Qingshan, Yang Cheng walked out of the Tang family's residence and came to a street nearby. After all, the Tang family was one of the 4 wealthiest families in Beijing. It wouldn't look good if they got involved with the Azure Dragon Society. Yang Cheng didn't want to cause any trouble. Not long after, a shiny black Rolls-Royce Phantom drove to the side of the road and stopped, attracting a series of envious gazes. After the car window rolled down, Lu Qingshan, who was wearing a black suit and had an arrogant smile on his face, waved at Yang Cheng with a cigar in his mouth. And next to him, there was a middle-aged woman. Yang Cheng casually sat in the car like a passerby, causing the passers-by to be taken aback. After Yang Cheng sat in the spacious and comfortable leather seat, he stretched his back and moved his butt. Only then did he carefully size up the other woman in the back seat who had been sitting for a long time. This woman seemed to be around 40 years old and had maintained herself quite well. Her skin was like that of a woman in her early 30s. She had short hair that reached her ears and dyed it a drunken red. Her eyebrows were gorgeous and her figure was plump. She wore a yellow uniform, revealing a sense of beauty that was a combination of flirtatiousness and steadiness. At the same time, this woman also looked at Yang Cheng with a curious smile. Chapter 645. If I'm not wrong, this is my little mother-in-law? Yang Cheng asked with a grin. Lu Qingshan had 2 women. One was Lu Mingyu's birth mother's first wife, and the other was the woman he met in Beijing who helped him build his empire. She was Lu Mingho's birth mother. Yang Chen thought about it for a while and decided that this woman should be her. The woman in yellow smiled sweetly. I've heard from Qingshan that your son-in-law is not someone to be trifled with. Just as I expected, he calls me little mother-in-law the moment he sees me. Mingyu's mother and I have never been separated in seniority. Why are you separating us? Yang Cheng rubbed his nose. How would I know that you two are on equal footing? One is a wife and the other is a concubine. Lu Qingshan snorted. Don't lower yourself to this brat's level. He says one thing, but does another. No matter how nice he calls me, he doesn't care about others' feelings. Yang Cheng rolled his eyes. I only beat up one of your subordinates. Do you have to be so stubborn? Let me introduce you. Lu Qingshan held a cigar in one hand and held the woman's shoulder with the other. He smiled. This is Su Ying, Mingho's mother. You has seen her before and calls her mother too. You could just call her mother-in-law. Yang Chung quickly flattered. Mother-in-law, it's such a waste for you to marry this man. He's like an old cow eating young grass. As soon as he said that, Suing burst into laughter. Lu Qingshan wanted to retort, but if he did, it would be equivalent to saying that Suing was old. After some small talk, Lu Qingshan said, "Do you know why I called you out today?" Yang Chung rolled his eyes. "You're the one who called me out. Why are you asking me?" Lu Qingshan's mouth twitched. He couldn't be bothered to beat around the bush with Yang Chung. "You know that Mingho is my only son. I need a successor after all these years. But Mingho is still young and inexperienced. Even if he is talented, it won't be easy for him to take charge. I'm not young anymore. When I returned to Zhonghai, I wanted to form an alliance with the Red Thorn Society and expand. However, I realized that it's not easy to suppress the local tyrant. I plan to leave these matters in Ming Hao's hands and let him complete them." Yang Chung understood what Lu Qingshan was trying to say. It seemed that he also knew that the chances of him dominating the whole of Huaxia were not high. Not to mention that there were hidden forces in other provinces. The country would not allow the Green Dragon Society to be the sole leader. Moreover, there was also the Red Thorn Society in Zhonghai that had always taken the initiative in the south. Therefore, Lu Qingshan wanted to pave the way for Lu Mingho. "Although you're not from our underworld, I know that you're not an ordinary person. At the very least, Qiangwei listens to you. In the future, Mingho will still need your help. I believe that you won't be too stingy even if my daughter is occupied by you. It just so happens that the Azure Dragon Society is holding a council of patriarchs today, and all the important people in charge will be present. I plan to take you to meet the important people in the Azure Dragon Society while you're in Beijing. We'll get to know each other. In the future, I'll step down from behind the scenes, and you can help Mingho." Yang Chung was in a dilemma. So, he wanted him to protect his brother-in-law. Not to mention that Lu Mingho had caused Jinxiu to be bullied by those delinquents. The Azure Dragon Society was a force in Beijing. Did he have to go there every now and then? However, Lu Qingshan did not do this for him. Perhaps he felt that he was the true leader of the Red Thorn Society, so he should have a lot of weight and could help Lu Mingho to intimidate the powerful people in the Azure Dragon Society. Suing sighed sorrowfully. "Qingshan, Mingho is still young. Are you so cruel to let him work in the society at such a young age? He is my son. Since he doesn't want to go to school, he can only walk this path." Lu Qingshan did not care that Yang Chung was present. He squeezed Su Ying's hand and said, "When I retire, you can take off your burden. All these years, you've followed me everywhere, and I know it's been hard on you. For the rest of your life, I'll bring you out more and spend more time with you." Su Ying smiled bitterly and did not try to persuade him anymore. Yang Chung listened on the side. He felt that although Lu Qingshan's character was not very good, he was quite sincere to his daughter and children. However, he asked curiously, "Mother-in-law, do you also hold a position in society?" Su Ying smiled and said, "At first, I opened a bar in Yanjing. After I met Qingshan, I walked this path. The foundation of the Azure Dragon Society was laid by me and your father-in-law. Later on, I was in charge of some internal affairs. Now, I'm in charge of some logistics. I can be considered a hall leader." Yang Chung nodded. No wonder Lu Mingho was so restless. His mother was not easy to deal with. After driving for nearly an hour, they finally arrived at their destination. It was a holiday hotel with a garden-style design. One look at the name, and it was obvious who owned it. Azure Dragon International Holiday Hotel. They drove all the way to the man-made lake in the center of the holiday hotel. A white 3-story Baroque bungalow stood by the lake. Under the welcome of a few waiters, Yang Chung followed behind Lu Qingshan and Su Ying and walked slowly into the building's hall. Upon entering, he realized that it was a building that was a combination of a banquet hall and a great hall. In the banquet hall, there were already many men in suits and some women in gorgeous clothes. Rather than calling it a triad, it would be better to call it a big company that did the underworld business. When everyone saw Lu Qingshan and Su Ying, they all came up to greet them. Most of them looked at Lu Qingshan with awe. After all, he was the one who built the Azure Dragon Society. He definitely had enough prestige. When everyone's eyes fell on Yang Chung, They were a little confused, but no one went up to ask. As soon as Lu Qingshan arrived, the meeting of the elders of the Azure Dragon Society could officially start. The meeting was prepared to last for an entire day, so it started in the morning. The crowd entered the Great Hall one after another. Around a huge oval table, Lu Qingshan sat upright at the head of the table. As the president's wife and one of the hall leaders, Su Ying sat on his left. Obviously, she was the second in command in the society. Her position was much higher than what Yang Cheng had imagined. Just as Yang Cheng was hesitating about where to sit, he saw a man walk over and say in an indifferent tone, "You can sit behind the president." The voice sounded familiar to Yang Cheng. He raised his head and was slightly stunned. Wasn't the fair-skinned man in front of him Gao Yu, whom he had beaten up and sent to the police station? Logically speaking, Gao Yu should be in jail. Why was he here in Beijing? Knowing Choi Yun's character, she would never let off a criminal that she had arrested easily. At this moment, Lu Qingshan turned his head around and said to Yang Cheng in a deep voice, "Gao Yu was released from prison by my men. No matter what conflict you had with him in the past, he's still my trusted assistant. Since you've already taught him a lesson, don't hold it against him anymore. Sit down, the meeting is about to start." Yang Cheng frowned. He didn't expect Lu Qingshan to find a way to release Gao Yu. He really didn't care about someone like Gao Yu. It was just that Gao Yu's strange tone and demeanor clearly showed that he was full of hostility toward him. Su Ying looked at Gao Yu and then at Yang Cheng. There was a complicated look in her eyes, but she didn't say anything. After a while, Lu Qingshan signaled for everyone to quiet down. With a solemn expression, he said slowly, "I have a few important things to announce in today's meeting of the patriarchs. I believe everyone has heard about them before coming here. But before I talk about the important things, I would like to introduce a young man to everyone." Lu Qingshan turned around and pointed at Yang Cheng, gesturing for Yang Cheng to stand up. He said, "This is Yang Cheng, my son-in-law. Many of you should have heard of this name. That's right, Zhonghai's Red Thorn Society can be said to have a close relationship with him." At this moment, the hall masters and leaders of the Green Dragon Society started whispering to each other. They looked at Yang Cheng with strange expressions. They were all people who had access to some secret information. Clearly, they didn't expect that the person behind the Red Thorn Society would be such an ordinary young man. Yang Cheng was rather embarrassed. He felt like he was being watched like an animal for a while. After standing for a while, he immediately sat back down. After Lu Qingshan finished his introduction, he continued, "The reason why I invited Yang Cheng to attend this meeting today is because Yang Cheng will be participating in the matters that I want to announce." At this point, Lu Qingshan deliberately paused and scanned everyone in the hall. After making sure that everyone was listening attentively, he said, "After going to Zhonghai and expanding the territory in the south, I realized that I've been on this path for almost 30 years. I'm no longer young. Many young people are more resilient than I thought. So, I've decided that after this meeting of the patriarchs, I will officially hand over the power to my son, Lu Mingho." As soon as these words came out, the entire hall was in an uproar. A few hall masters who were closer to Lu Qingshan hurriedly said, "President, we watched Mingho grow up. He's indeed made for this path. But he's still young. He's still a child. How can he be the president?" Lu Qingshan waved his hand and said, "Of course, I won't let Mingho be the president immediately. I will try my best to guide him. Moreover, with the support of good brothers like you, he will grow very quickly. As for the safety of the gang after I retire, I plan to let our ally, the Red Thorn Society, help us. This is also the reason why I invited Yang Cheng to attend this meeting today. Yang Cheng is my son-in-law and Mingho's brother-in-law. He's one of us. This means that the Red Thorn Society will definitely be on our side. Even if I retire, I don't think any other gang will dare to challenge the Green Dragon Society and the Red Thorn Society at the same time." Sitting at the back, Yang Cheng pursed his lips. This father-in-law was really good at talking. He hadn't even made any promises, and he was already chasing him into the car. Moreover, what era was this? There was no democracy at all. He was saying that his son would be the next president? No matter how he thought about it, it didn't seem right. As expected, after a moment of commotion, An old man with gray hair raised his hand and said, "President, I think it's inappropriate to let Mingho be the president." Lu Qingshan did not seem to expect that someone would oppose him so openly. His eyes turned cold as he glanced over and said with a smile, "Uncle Zhang, you are also my senior. If there's anything you want to say, feel free to say it." The old man called Uncle Zhang took a deep breath and said, "I think that only someone who looks convincing can be elected. Although Mingho is a good material, he hasn't been cut yet. Who can guarantee that he'll be of great use? Do we really have to wait for a few years to confirm it? We old guys don't have that much time to support a newcomer. Therefore, I think it's inappropriate. Uncle Zhang, when I first came to Beijing, I was just a kid. But I single-handedly made the Green Dragon Society rule Beijing. Some people grow much faster than normal people. I believe that Uncle Zhang should have some knowledge about this," Lu Qingshan said expressionlessly. Unexpectedly, as soon as Lu Qingshan finished speaking, a younger woman in a red dress giggled and said, "President, of course we know that you're the hero of the Green Dragon Society. But that kid, Mingho, I heard that in Zhonghai, he only leads a small group of gangsters to fight. Compared to you, he's a far cry." "That's right, President." Another middle-aged man with a boss's hairstyle laughed sinisterly. "All of us all masters here are much more capable than a young brat. Why don't you consider us?" Lu Qingshan's face darkened. He also realized that there was a trap waiting for him. He thought that with his prestige, everyone would agree on the surface even if they weren't convinced. If that was the case, even if they did something behind his back, he would only need to help Lu Mingho kill the chicken to warn the monkey, and he would be able to stand firm. But he didn't expect that so many people were going to fall out with him. Yang Cheng yawned. It wasn't that he didn't know the tense atmosphere in the conference room. But other than feeling bored, he didn't think much of it. To put it bluntly, whoever wanted to be the president could be it. He was only here to give face to Lu Mingyu. At this moment, Lu Qingshan was so angry that he laughed. He laughed loudly and slammed the table. Good. Looks like you guys are well prepared. We've worked together for so many years, and we know each other's capabilities. Then, let me hear it. Who do you think is more suitable to replace me as the president?" Chapter 646. Lu Qingshan was no fool. There were plenty of experienced people in the gang. If everyone were to fight for the position, the gang would definitely fall apart. The gains would not make up for the losses. That was why he called for his son to take over. It was not uncommon for a son to take over his father's position in the underworld. The biggest advantage of this was that it would prevent the conflicts within the gang from intensifying. That was why most of the time, even if the elders within the gang were dissatisfied, they would not stand out to oppose it. Seeing that everyone was coming to deal with him, Lu Qingshan simply let them tear each other apart so that he could reap the benefits. After whispering to each other for a while, Uncle Zhang, the oldest of the group, spoke up. "Actually, other than the president, I think there's only one person in the Azure Dragon Society who has the most authority and ability." "That's right," Bai Xiaochun said. As he spoke, old man Zhang's gaze landed on Lu Qingshan's side, Su Ying, president's wife. Oh no, Hall Master Su is no less a woman than a man. She is the biggest contributor to the foundation of the Green Dragon Gang. Old man Zhang, will definitely respect her and support Hall Master Su to be the next president. As soon as he said that, Lu Qingshan's face turned pale. His whole body was petrified. Su Ying's expression was calm. She smiled at old man Zhang. "Uncle Zhang, you're too kind. Su Ying, am not worthy." Su Ying's reaction made Lu Qingshan's eyes turn cold. Following that, the lady in red, the man with the boss's hairstyle, and some other important people who were close to them also chimed in. We're all women. Of course I support Sister Su Ying to be the president. Hall Master Su has been working hard for the Green Dragon Gang all these years. She's healthy too. She's definitely the best candidate. I, old pig, have always admired Madame Su. I have nothing to say. Hall Master Su's words are convincing. Moreover, Mingho is Hall Master Su's son. It's not a bad choice to pave the way for Mingho's future. Everyone began to praise Su Ying, thinking that she was the best candidate to take over the president's position. In the beginning, Su Ying had a faint smile on her face. In the end, She did not bother to hide it anymore. A proud expression of victory appeared on her face. She looked at Lu Qingshan, who was beside her, with a teasing gaze. Her voice was gentle, but there was a tinge of coldness in it. Qingshan, what should we do? Everyone wants me to take over your position. Lu Qingshan took a deep breath. There was an indescribably complicated expression on his face as he looked at the woman beside him with a faint smile. You are really my good wife, Mingho's good mother. Suing looked at Lu Qingshan gently and said, Qingshan, you said it on the way here. You're not young anymore, and you're tired. So, isn't it good that I'm here to share your burden? What if I say no? Lu Qingshan's eyebrows twitched, and the veins on his arms bulged. It was clear that he was suppressing his rage. He had never imagined that everything he had planned would fail, because the person he trusted and loved the most had betrayed him. Moreover, the betrayal was so blatant. He was merciless. Suing shook her head regretfully and sighed. Qingshan, you know me. Ever since I accompanied you to build your empire, I've been very meticulous in my thinking. I've always arranged all the steps in order so that you don't have to worry about anything. Sure, I'll be the vanguard. Lu Qingshan seemed to be immersed in the memories of the past for a short period of time. His eyes were filled with deep sorrow. Su Ying's gaze suddenly turned cold. She smiled coldly and said, Since I've made up my mind, I naturally won't let anything slip. As she said that, Su Ying clapped her hands. Suddenly, all the doors of the entire venue were pushed open with a loud clang. A large group of burly men in black uniforms, armed with submachine guns, surrounded the entire venue. In an instant, the entire venue was in a state of panic. Everyone was in a state of panic. Lu Qingshan's eyes widened, and he clenched his fists tightly. He did not expect Su Ying to have arranged so many ambushes. It seemed that she had made up her mind. Su Ying, this is not within the scope of what we agreed upon. Suddenly, Uncle Zhang shouted, Didn't you say that it would be fine as long as we support you, as the president? Why are there still so many people lying in ambush? Why are you pointing your gun at us? Obviously, everyone present had received the benefits that Su Ying had promised, but Su Ying had deceived them all. Su Ying sneered. Uncle Zhang, it doesn't matter who the gun is pointed at. What's important is that you're alive, isn't it? It's true that I said that if I become the president, I would increase your shares, but I didn't say that I wouldn't arrange for people to ambush you. You despicable be asterisk TCH. Isn't it enough for us to follow you and change sides? Old man Zhang was obviously furious. He felt that he had been tricked as well, and he was incomparably furious. Su Ying's gaze turned cold. Leisurely, she snapped her fingers. Duh. 2. After the snap, the submachine gun closest to Old Man Zhang suddenly spat out a snake of fire. Old Man Zhang was standing and scolding her when his head was split open. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere, and he died on the spot. Everyone's expression changed, and they looked at the dead old hall master in disbelief. Uncle Zhang! Lu Qingshan roared angrily, his eyes red with grief. After all, that was an elder who had supported him and fought alongside him. Even if there was a conflict, he still cared about his relationship with him. Su Ying snorted coldly. You're already so old, yet you still don't take it easy. Look, the quality of the guns these days isn't good. It's very easy to misfire. Lu Qingshan turned around abruptly, pointing at Su Ying and scolding her loudly. Vicious woman, how could you do such a thing? Su Ying stared back at him without the slightest bit of fear. She said darkly, Qingshan, you know best what kind of woman I am, don't you? Back then, every time my men succeeded in ambushing people and blood flowed like a river, you would always praise me for being able to handle things well. Why are you scolding me now? Indeed, you still don't see me as your woman, do you? Lu Qingshan looked as if he was about to collapse. He said dejectedly, Su Ying, don't be like this. Get these people to leave, and I'll pretend that nothing has happened. Huh? Su Ying laughed out loud, as if she had heard the funniest thing in the world. She trembled for a long time before she managed to hold back her tears of laughter. Lu Qingshan, it looks like you're really getting old. Do you really think that I would care whether you truly love me or not? Lu Qingshan's eyes were filled with despair. He could tell that Suing really did not care. You're doing this. Why exactly? Lu Qingshan asked weakly and bitterly. I wholeheartedly want Mingho to take over. Isn't Mingho our flesh and blood? Isn't that enough? Do you really want to end our relationship as husband and wife for so many years? Suing swept her gaze across the entire venue. After Uncle Zhang was executed, everyone kept quiet out of fear, not daring to make sound. Suing smiled proudly before replying, Mingho is indeed my son, but he doesn't need a toothless tiger as his father. What? Lu Qingshan was momentarily stunned. Suing looked at Lu Qingshan with some pity. She said, Lu Qingshan, you're no longer the you of the past. When I first met you at the bar, you were so brave, so fearless, so ruthless, so decisive. Whatever you do, you only think about power and wealth. You don't care about any messy feelings at all. Retire? Spend the rest of your life? Ha! Suing, painstakingly stayed by your side for almost 20 years and gave birth to a son for you. Could it be that in the end, it was to accompany a foolish old man in his twilight years? Lu Qingshan's entire body went limp. He was dumbfounded. If not for the chair he was sitting on, his body would have already collapsed to the ground. What I like is only that ambitious and ruthless Lu Qingshan from back then, who would do anything to achieve his goals, and not this coward who only thinks about helping his son to take over the throne. Are you satisfied after unifying Yin Jing? Since you don't have the ability to unify all of Huaxia, and you don't have the ability to cross borders, then I'll do it for you. Su Ying's eyes were filled with fanaticism. She was so excited that she could not suppress her smile. Lu Qingshan raised his head with difficulty. He sneered and shook his head. Unify all of Huaxia? How dare you say that? Su Ying, you're just a woman. Do you really think you're that capable? You're wrong. There's still me. Suddenly, Gao Yu, who had been sitting silently at the back, stood up and blurted out with a gloomy expression. Lu Qingshan once again turned his head in disbelief. He stared blankly at Gao Yu, who was completely different from before. You betrayed me too, why not? Gao Yu's lips curled into a sinister smile. He actually slowly wrapped his arm around Su Ying's voluptuous waist. Su Ying did not mind at all. Instead, she obediently leaned on Gao Yu's chest and ate. Her expression was one of intoxication, and her body was like a water snake. Lu Qingshan suddenly understood something. He lost control of his emotions and started laughing maniacally. Ha! Ha! Good! Good! What a pair of adulterous husband and wife. It turns out that the two people I trust the most are so kind to me. Lu Qingshan laughed and cried at the same time. No wonder Su Ying was so anxious to get me to drag Gao Yu out the moment he entered the prison. So they're already in the same nest. Gao Yu caressed Su Ying's waist with one hand and wagged his finger with the other. TSK. Lu Qingshan, you can't do it anymore. What Su Ying needs is a man who can continuously expand the territory of Green Dragon Society with her, not a sick cat who has lost all his teeth and claws. Many of the other elders present were clearly shocked that Su Ying had actually teamed up with Lu Qingshan's deputy, Gao Yu. But to them, survival was the most important thing. No one dared to say anything. Moreover, as long as Su Ying was in power, the dividends they received from Green Dragon Society would only increase. They did not mind who became the president. After all, Lu Qingshan had been through a lot. Even though he had suffered such a blow, he quickly sorted out some of his thoughts. He said in a low voice, Su Ying, since you've already come this far, then I have nothing else to say. I've lost. However, I hope that you won't do anything to Yang Cheng, and don't do anything to Mingyu and her daughter. Yang Cheng, who was standing at the side, was also a little shocked when he saw how things had developed to this stage. He did not expect that his little mother-in-law, whom he had just met not too long ago, would become a little poisonous woman. Life was unpredictable. However, seeing that Lu Qingshan was still thinking about himself and Lu Mingyu in such a situation, Yang Cheng was quite pleased. It was clear that Lu Qingshan was a responsible and compassionate man. Don't worry, I've already thought about it. Su Ying smiled smugly and said, when I send you to heaven, I'll say that you were murdered. After that, I'll take good care of Mingho. As for the mother and daughter, I'll just get someone to watch over them. They won't be able to cause any trouble. As for your precious son-in-law, Yang Cheng, Su Ying looked at Yang Cheng with a strange expression and said, "Actually, I have to thank you, Lu Shan. Even when you're at death's door, you still gave me such a huge gift. As long as Yang Cheng is in my hands, it'll be much easier to deal with Zhonghai's Red Thorn Society. How could you?" Lu Shan pointed at Su Ying, but he did not know how to retaliate. He could only look at Yang Cheng painfully. "Yang Cheng, I've let you down? Why don't you say that you've let me down?" At this moment, Gao Yu laughed coldly and said, "You father-in-law and son-in-law, one did nothing to save me while the other sent me to jail. I, Gao Yu, am not a gentleman. Lu Shan, I'll let your son-in-law have a good death." Chapter 647. Lu Shan stared at the man and woman in front of him, who had completely changed. He lowered his head and shook his head sadly. Then, he turned to the dozen or so core founding members of the Azure Dragon Society and said, "All of you have gone through ups and downs with me. I've never forgotten the contributions you've made to the society. I also know that you must be dissatisfied with me in your heart. But I never thought that you would really end up like this. Are all these years of friendship so worthless that you can cut it off just like that?" All the Hall Masters kept their mouths shut. At most, a few of them looked at Lu Shan with a slightly sentimental gaze. Lu Shan saw this and revealed a helpless smile. "It seems that all of you have really decided for me to die. Boss Lu, as the saying goes, success or failure determines a hero. You can no longer give us any more benefits, but President Su can. Of course, we have to support her to become the president. However, Boss Lu, you don't have to worry too much on your way to the Yellow Springs. At least that kid Mingho will become the president in the future. At least you have incense to burn," the man with the boss haircut said indifferently. It was unknown whether he was comforting or mocking. Lu Shan suddenly burst into laughter. His laughter was rather strange. "Incense? Yes, I still have incense." Lu Shan couldn't stop laughing. His body was twitching. Gao Yu hugged Su Ying. The two of them looked at each other. They felt that Lu Shan was a little strange, but they couldn't pinpoint what it was. They couldn't be bothered to think too much about it. Gao Yu smiled disdainfully. "Lu Shan, don't you have any last words before you die? If not, I'll send you on your way." Lu Shan ignored them. Instead, he turned to Yang Cheng, who was sitting quietly at the side. "Son-in-law, what do you think about this matter?" Yang Cheng sensed something strange from Lu Shan's words. At this moment, when he saw Lu Shan's expression, he couldn't help but have a flash of understanding. "Yes, no wonder I felt that something was wrong. I must have missed some details." Immediately, Yang Cheng couldn't help but laugh. "I was a little touched when I pleaded on your behalf just now. Now, it seems that ginger is still spicier with age." "You're wrong," Lu Shan said. "Regardless of whether you believe me or not, what I said is true." Yang Cheng was silent for a while. "This doesn't mean much to me. Since you've already come to a conclusion, just do as you see fit." Gao Yu, Su Ying, and the rest of the crowd frowned as they listened to the strange conversation between Lu Shan and Yang Cheng. But looking at the situation before them, could Lu Shan have some sort of celestial art to escape? You're just putting up a brave front before your death. A hint of viciousness appeared on Su Ying's charming face. "Lu Shan, I've seen many of your tricks. Don't think that you can scare me like this. Since you have no last words, I'll personally end our relationship as husband and wife of over 10 years and send you to the next world." As she spoke, Su Ying extended her hand to a man in black who was standing close to her and said, "Give me the gun." After he finished speaking, he didn't see the man move. Su Ying frowned and turned around impatiently. "Did you hear that? Are you deaf?" The man was still like a block of wood. He raised his submachine gun and didn't move at all. A hint of surprise flashed across Su Ying's eyes. She turned to another man in black and said, "You come over and give me the gun." The result was the same. The man stood there expressionlessly, not listening to Su Ying's orders at all. At this moment, many of the people present finally felt that something was amiss. Su Ying and Gao Yu looked at each other. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Could it be? Let me do it. Lu Qingshan's voice became extremely gloomy and cryptic at this moment. Lu Qingshan straightened the collar of his suit and pulled himself together. He stood up from his seat, hand behind his back, and swept his gaze across the entire hall arrogantly. Everyone in position, Lu Qingshan said slowly. With that order, all the men in black pointed their submachine guns at the Green Dragon Society's elders who were closest to them. At the same time, the men behind Su Ying and Gao Yu pointed their cold gun barrels at the back of the man and woman's heads. In an instant, the situation took a turn for the worse. Su Ying and Gao Yu weren't the only ones who turned pale in disbelief. All the Green Dragon Society's elders felt like they were in a dream and forgot to breathe. Yang Cheng clicked his tongue and sighed. He didn't say a word. He only felt that this was an eye-opener. He had underestimated this cheap father-in-law of his. He had built up the Green Dragon Society from scratch. He was the king of the underground world in Beijing. How could he be so easily betrayed? Lu Qingshan was lucky that he was the head of the underground world in Beijing. If he was in Zhonghai, Situ Mingze would have been killed a long time ago. If that was the case, his own Xiangwei wouldn't have had the chance to grow up. Yang Cheng had also noticed some clues just now. What made him feel that something was amiss earlier was that Lu Qingshan didn't have any bodyguards around him. For a big boss of the underground world, this didn't seem right. Even if he was hiding in the dark, there was no reason that Yang Cheng wouldn't be able to sense it. After that, he saw that the other hall masters didn't have any bodyguards. Yang Cheng thought that this was a convention and didn't think too much about it. But after that, Old Man Zhang was shot dead in the conference room. The sound of a submachine gun wasn't soft. This wasn't a sealed room, so the sound must have traveled far. It didn't make sense that there wasn't any commotion outside after such a loud gunshot. This was, after all, an important territory of the Green Dragon Society. It was also a holiday hotel with many people. Even if Su Ying and Gao Yu had bribed a large number of people to usurp the position, it was impossible for all the members of the Green Dragon Society to listen to them. At such a time of the elders' meeting, after the gunshot, not a single person approached to check on the situation. It was obvious that this had been arranged beforehand. If Su Ying and Gao Yu had bribed everyone here, or replaced them with their own people, that would be too much of a fanfare. Usurping the position and making it known to everyone, it was almost impossible. Therefore, the biggest possibility was that this was all part of Lu Qingshan's plan. Everyone in the surroundings had already received the order to not make a move. Lu Qingshan had been probing the entire time. He was using such a scene to test the loyalty of everyone present. Ow, how could it be like this? Su Ying mumbled. Her knees gave way, and she knelt on the ground in a daze. Gao Yu's whole body was trembling. As he knelt down with a thud, he kowtowed to Lu Qingshan. President, please spare me. On account that I, Gao Yu, have followed you for so many years. Even if I don't have any merits, at least I have worked hard. Please don't kill me. It's all this woman's fault. I was blinded for a moment. President, it's all her fault. Hearing Gao Yu's cries for mercy, Su Ying turned her head stiffly and spat a mouthful of saliva on Gao Yu's pretty face. Gao Yu, a loss is a loss. You really aren't a man. Su Ying looked at Gao Yu in disdain. Deep in her eyes, however, was regret and despair. Lu Qingshan calmly glanced at the two of them and ignored them. Instead, he looked at the group of seated doyens and said, Perhaps all of you are very surprised that I, who was supposed to be the one being plotted against, ended up plotting against you instead. As he spoke, Lu Qingshan paused, as if he was enjoying everyone's horrified expressions. Then, he said indifferently, Of course you won't understand. Because you don't understand, I am the president, and all of you will die today. President, spare old Deng. It's Su Ying and Gao Yu who instigated us. It's not our fault. The boss, old Deng, was already sweating profusely. He knelt on the ground, trembling like a pug wagging its tail and begging for mercy. Lu Qingshan rubbed his fingers and said casually, Old Deng, you still like to talk about useless things. Just now, I asked all of you if you wanted to break all ties with me. None of you chose to stand on my side. Since you can't live and die with me, then there's no need for me to keep you. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. All the members of the meeting wore expressions of regret and indignation. They had never imagined that Lu Qingshan was the one in control from the beginning to the end. Su Ying had tricked them, but wasn't Su Ying being tricked by Lu Qingshan as well? Over the years, Lu Qingshan didn't seem to be as brave as he used to be. Hence, everyone's fear of him gradually diminished. However, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Lu Qingshan didn't do anything, but once he did, it was like a thunderbolt that wiped out everyone. Everyone present knew very well that in the underworld, the crime of rebellion and disloyalty, if they didn't succeed, they would die for a righteous cause. Lu Qingshan didn't hesitate. He had already said what he wanted to say. This man who single-handedly unified the Yin-Jing underworld seemed to have returned to his prime. His gaze was like a dragon as he shouted, "Kill!" "Wait a minute!" Almost at the same time, old Deng, who was kneeling on the ground, stood up abruptly and tore off his suit. "You can't kill me, or else we'll all die together." Old Deng seemed to have a crazed and ferocious expression on his face as he shouted. On his abdomen, there was a row of shiny bombs. Obviously, if a bullet were to hit him, or if he were to activate some kind of suicide mechanism, the row of bombs would explode instantly. Chapter 648. Lu Qingshan's pupils constricted. He was not a god. He did not expect old Deng to tie himself up with a bomb. He set up this trap after he found out that his woman, Su Ying and Gao Yu, was in cahoots with each other. He purposely sent the bodyguards around him away to make Su Ying and the rest think that he was caught off guard. Then he secretly swapped the people arranged by Su Ying and Gao Yu with his own people. Finally, he informed the surrounding area of the venue in advance. Everything was going according to plan. Lu Qingshan's arrangements were very thorough. He used this incident to test everyone's loyalty. If anyone could support him in such a situation, then he could use that person without worry. In the future, when Lu Mingho took over, he would not have to worry about a rebellion. If these people did not care about their friendship with him at such a critical moment, then Lu Qingshan would not be lenient. He would kill all these old people to pave the way for his son to take over. It had to be said that Lu Qingshan was a ruthless and ambitious person, but he was also a man of honor. Those who obeyed him would be highly regarded by him, and those who defied him would not have the slightest chance of survival. It all depended on whether or not they could seize the opportunity. Originally, things were already at the final stage. As long as they followed the original plan and killed everyone present, the Azure Dragon Society would undergo a metamorphosis and receive a new master. But this cunning old Deng had actually been prepared for this. Thinking about it, old Deng did not trust anyone. Hence, he prepared a self-defense bomb before he came, just in case. Who knew he was right? Be it Su Ying or Lu Qingshan, they cannot be trusted. Old Deng, don't be rash. This bomb is not a joke, Lu Qingshan said calmly. He was thinking about how to deal with it. Old Deng felt that he had a chance. He laughed and said, "Why? Are you afraid? Let's go if you are. We are only trying to survive. We will go our separate ways in the future." Old Deng was also smart. He said we, not me. Only by tying everyone up would they be able to get more reinforcements and escape. In an instant, the others pandered and asked Lu Qingshan to let them go. But at this moment, Yang Cheng, who had been sitting quietly on the chair, suddenly stood up, calmly walked to the side of the man in a black uniform, and snatched the submachine gun from his hand. The man didn't want to give it to Yang Cheng, but Yang Cheng's speed and strength weren't something he could react to at all. If he wasn't careful, he would find that his gun was taken away. Lu Qingshan noticed this and frowned. The main reason why he brought Yang Cheng here today was to gain Yang Cheng's trust and respect. He wanted to let Yang Cheng see how honest he was in front of him. He also wanted to let Yang Cheng know that he was not a pushover. In that case, he would be able to work more stably with the Red Thorn Society in the future, and as his son-in-law, Yang Cheng would not offend him too much. But looking at the current situation, Lu Qingshan was a little regretful. If something really happened to Yang Cheng, how was he going to explain it to Lu Mingyu and the rest? "Yang Cheng, don't move around. What are you doing?" Lu Qingshan said. Yang Chung held the submachine gun as easily as holding a chicken feather. He fiddled with it in his hand and grinned. This brother is really willing to spend money to save his life. The U.S. military's C for explosive. There are so many tubes. If they all explode, let alone the people here, the entire venue will be blown to the ground. What? This is C4? Lu Qingshan's face darkened. He didn't expect the situation to be so bad. This kind of high explosive commonly used by the U.S. military couldn't be obtained through ordinary channels. This old dang had indeed spent a lot of money to get his hands on something that could save his life. Yang Qing didn't care about these people's shocked expressions. He raised the submachine gun in his hand and aimed at old Dang's abdomen. The explosive. What are you doing? Lu Qingshan finally panicked. It was as if he could see himself being annihilated by the monstrous fire. Yang Qing shrugged and said, "No matter what, you are still my baby Mingyu's father. Don't worry, I won't let you die just like that." After saying that, he didn't care about the other's terrified expressions and pulled the trigger. "Are you crazy? Stop!" A stream of bullets suddenly shot toward the explosive in old Dang's abdomen. Kaboom! In an instant, before anyone could react, their ears were already filled with the terrifying sound of the explosive. Everyone subconsciously closed their eyes. As there was no time to escape, even the armed men in black uniforms could only choose to lie down. Only Lu Qingshan's eyes were wide open in anger. He knew that it was useless to dodge. At such a short distance, if the explosive exploded, no one would survive. So, he would rather open his eyes wide and see what this young man was going to do. It had to be said that at this critical moment, Lu Qingshan's fearless spirit had already proved his courage. And it was precisely because of this courage that Lu Qingshan was lucky enough to become the only person to witness a miracle. When the bullets ignited the entire row of C4 explosives, a blazing and dazzling light suddenly began to flash violently in old Dang's abdomen. And old Dang's body was instantly engulfed by the fireball. The red, black, and purple flames suddenly spread out and corroded everything around it. However, in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, those violent and blazing wild beasts seemed to have encountered an insurmountable barrier. All the flames were strangely compressed into a small area, which was a foot around the detonation point of old Dang, forming a light ball. In this miraculous ball of light, the terrifying power of the explosives was completely restrained. All the shock waves and high temperatures did not affect anyone else in the slightest. Finally, after a dozen dreamlike seconds, the light ball was extinguished. Lu Qingshan swallowed his saliva. He saw with his own eyes that old Deng had disappeared from his original spot, and the place where he originally stood was only a pile of black residue. Carbonization. A living person had been forcibly compressed in a small area of super high temperature and turned into carbonization. At this time, Yang Chung casually threw the submachine gun back to the side of the man who was originally holding the gun and then walked to Lu Qingshan's side. He patted Lu Qingshan's shoulder and said with an evil smile, "I know that you call me here to make me feel that father-in-law is also a man, but father-in-law, you have to know that it's actually meaningless to prove this to your son-in-law. Well, things are considered done. I'm in a good mood today, so I'm not interested in watching the massacre. I'll go out and wait for you." Under everyone's almost lifeless gaze, Yang Chung slowly walked out of the venue and closed the door on his way out. Lu Qingshan was stunned on the spot. He suddenly realized something. Everything he had done was like performing a boring beheading act in front of the Grim Reaper. Beside the artificial lake in the center of the Green Dragon International Resort, there was a rattan bench for guests to rest on. Yang Chung leaned back lazily with his legs crossed, looking at the sparkling surface of the lake and humming a tune. This tune was sung by Hui Lin when he went to the branch of Yulei Entertainment yesterday. He didn't expect that he would remember quite a lot of the melody after listening to it once. It was clear that Hui Lin's songs were quite attractive. Just 10 minutes ago, the sound of submachine guns firing like firecrackers came from the white building behind him. Yang Chun didn't even need to think to know that Lu Qingshan had killed everyone after he regained his senses, including his little mother-in-law, Su Ying, and her adulterer, Gao Yu, whom he had only met for less than half a day. During this time, Yang Chun also thought of something that he hadn't considered before. During the meeting, Lu Qingshan made it clear that he wanted Lu Mingho to take over, but he didn't call Lu Mingho back from Zhonghai. He didn't even show up. Obviously, this didn't make sense. If he had thought of this contradiction earlier, it wouldn't be hard to tell that Lu Qingshan had ulterior motives today. It was precisely because he knew that Lu Mingho's mother, Su Ying, might be killed by his men on the spot today that Lu Qingshan didn't want Lu Mingho to see everything. As for how he was going to explain this to Lu Mingho, Lu Qingshan must have already thought of countermeasure. After some time, Lu Qingshan's figure came to the side of the rattan bench. He paused for a moment, then sat down beside Yang Chun. Lu Qingshan's body emitted a faint smell of blood. Without looking, he knew that most of the people in the venue were dead. Blood flowed like a river. It was probably a frenzied purge. They're all dead, not a single one left, Lu Qingshan said calmly, as if his dead wife and his subordinates who had followed him for many years were all strangers. Yang Chun nodded. Not bad. Lu Qingshan was silent for a while, then suddenly laughed bitterly. I didn't expect you to be so strong that you don't seem like a human. Yang Chun turned his head away. Who told you that I don't seem like a human? Lu Qingshan said, before I decided to form an alliance with Red Thorn Society, I naturally did my best to investigate everyone's information. Naturally, you were the main target of my investigation. My subordinates told me that you once single-handedly dealt with dozens of West Union Society's armed men and slaughtered them all. However, there was no concrete evidence. I didn't believe it at first, but today I believe it. Yang Chun suddenly understood. Lu Qingshan must be talking about the last banquet where he dealt with Situ Mingzi. However, it's good that you don't seem like a human. Lu Qingshan suddenly revealed a gentle expression. This way, even if something happens to me one day, you will be safe with you. Yang Chun was stunned. He hesitated for a while, then asked curiously, Father-in-law, do you love her? Lu Qingshan was stunned. Then he smiled bitterly and said, if I didn't love her, I wouldn't have waited until today to do all this, and I wouldn't have tested her so much. The person he was talking about was naturally Su Ying, the woman who had been with Lu Qingshan for almost 20 years. Yang Chun was silent. He didn't know whether Lu Qingshan was speaking the truth or not, because he really couldn't see through love. Lu Qingshan seemed to have seen through Yang Cheng's confusion. He chuckled and said, you are also a man, and you are also a man who is more than one woman. Which do you think is true love, your official wife, or are you her? Yang Chun said without hesitation, both are true love. Lu Qingshan said, me too. I love Yuer's mother, my first wife. I also love Su Ying, the woman who accompanied me in Beijing for 20 years. However, just because I love her doesn't mean that I don't have a reason to kill her. If I really have to give a reason, Lu Qingshan sighed and said, maybe it's because Su Ying's smarter than Yuer's mother. Yang Chun didn't say anything. He waited quietly for Lu Qingshan to continue. In comparison, Yuer's mother is not as young as Su Ying, not as smart as Su Ying, and not as cultured. All day long, apart from the trivial matters of the family, she is thinking about how to save money, when to get discounts in the supermarket, to nourish Yuer's body, to make food for me, to cut fruits for me, to make tea. Su Ying is different. Su Ying's brain helped me a lot in the process of building the Green Dragon Society. She can manage both internally and externally. She knows her limits and is very decisive. She can always come up with some schemes, which makes me admire her. She is a very attractive woman, and always has been. Yang Chun said, but it seems like you like my mother-in-law more. Oh, Mingyu's mother. Lu Qingshan laughed and said, that's right, that is indeed the case. Perhaps many people won't believe it, but deep down in my heart, I really like Yuer's mother more. She's a silly woman all day long. She's a woman who might only nag about trivial family matters in her entire life. She's a woman who occasionally causes me trouble and gives me headaches. However, She makes me feel more at ease and makes me want to protect her and our daughter. So, you would rather take the risk of Lu Mingho hating you for the rest of his life and choose to kill Su Ying, Yang Cheng said. That's right, Lu Qingshan said calmly. But I still have another consideration, which is if that child Mingho can't overcome the fact that I killed his mother, then he's not worthy of inheriting my position. Maybe one day in the future, he will kill you, Yang Cheng said bluntly. Lu Qingshan laughed and said, maybe. Don't worry, if he really can kill me one day, I will definitely walk on the bridge of helplessness with a smile. Let's see how capable he is. However, since my is with you, you better keep your eyes open. If my daughter is wronged in the slightest, I will not let you go even if I become a ghost. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you are strong. Yang Cheng grinned and chuckled. Father-in-law, I suddenly like you a little. You are quite likable, although you are a little stupid sometimes. Lu Qingshan's face twitched. He could not tell if this was a compliment or belittling. Chapter 649. As it was almost noon, Yang Cheng saw that the matter was more or less settled, so he did not stand on ceremony with Lu Qingshan and dragged him to the restaurant to eat. The facilities of the Azure Dragon Resort Hotel were all 5-star standard. As the chairman, Lu Qingshan was personally receiving guests, so of course, he would receive the highest standard of treatment. However, when it was time to eat, Lu Qingshan's face darkened. This was because, unsure if Yang Cheng was doing it on purpose, he didn't order anything else but 2 large pieces of beef meat that were 20 ounces each, and he even wanted it to be medium rare. As he had just seen a lot of bloody scenes in the meeting room, Lu Qingshan did not have much of an appetite. Yet, Yang Cheng was still gorging on the bloody steak in front of him. Fortunately, Lu Qingshan was not an ordinary person who had never seen blood before. He endured the urge to vomit and held it in, as if he was purposely not letting Yang Cheng have his way and finish his lunch with a dark face. Of course, Yang Cheng was purposely making Lu Qingshan feel disgusted. Who told him to think he was smart and bring him here to admire his prestige? After eating and wiping his mouth, Yang Cheng felt his phone vibrating. He took it out and saw that it was Choi Yun calling. Yang Cheng understood a little. He picked up the phone and asked, Bureau Chief Kai, are you going to the north? Choi Yun giggled. What do you mean by going to the north? I'm just telling you that I'll be in Beijing at 10 a.m. tomorrow. You have to pick me up at the airport on time. So fast. Yang Cheng was stunned. What do you mean? I'm going to see you soon. Are you not willing? Choi Yun said unhappily. Yang Cheng immediately realized his slip of the tongue. He originally thought that Choi Yun would come in 3 or 4 days, so he could take advantage of this time, spend a few days with the beautiful Choi Yun. However, he did not expect that Choi Yun would be coming tomorrow. He would be too embarrassed to sleep with Tang Wan again. Yang Cheng felt that it was a pity. If Choi Yun's relationship with Tang Wan was as close as Mo Chinyi and Xiang Wei, he would be able to enjoy life in another city. However, there would be opportunities in the future. Yang Cheng felt that it was better to settle Choi Yun's worries first. How could that be? I was just pleasantly surprised. Yonyan, darling, remember to bring a coat on the plane. The air conditioner is quite cold. Don't catch a cold, Yang Cheng said with a serious look of concern. Although Choi Yun knew that Yang Cheng was purposely making a fool out of her, she was still quite happy. She purposely said, what a hypocrite. He must have gotten together with another woman and forgotten about us. If I didn't call you, he would have forgotten about us. Yang Cheng almost said, how did you know? But he immediately stopped himself and said sternly, Sir, I have been wrongly accused. I have been burning with anxiety every day and wanted to bring up the marriage in front of my in-laws. Lu Qingshan, who was sitting opposite Yang Cheng, had an ashen and helpless expression on his face. He could already tell that the other party was Yang Cheng's other lover, but he did not expect this brat to be so shameless. He did not even try to avoid saying these words, and said it in front of his father-in-law. Lu Qingshan even began to doubt whether it was right or wrong to send Lu Mingyu into the mouth of this tiger. After talking a lot, Yang Cheng finally ended the conversation with Choi Yun. A woman who had just tasted love always had endless things to say. Although Yang Chung was not impatient, he was really quite tired. After thinking about it, he had to pick up Choi Yun tomorrow, and it would not be convenient for someone else to pick her up. Yang Chung raised his head and smiled at Lu Qingshan. Father-in-law, you see, your son-in-law is so lonely in Beijing. There's no one to take care of me, and it's not convenient for me to go out. Why don't you lend me a means of transportation? Lu Qingshan snorted and said, You can't even get a car? Yang Chung sighed and said, Isn't this because we are close? Why are you talking about family? Lu Qingshan was speechless. Now he was talking about family again. Why did he purposely discuss me before? However, Lu Qingshan was not a narrow-minded person. He knew that this son-in-law could be said to be his biggest support in the future. Therefore, he called one of his subordinates to get a car for Yang Chung from the garage. Hotels often needed to pick up some important guests, so there were many luxury cars. Yang Chung did not choose those particularly grand cars. He chose a new deep blue BMW Z4. This car was only about 800,000 to 900,000 in Huaxia. It was not too rare, and it would not attract too much attention. Lu Qingshan had just killed a large number of elders in the society, so there must be a lot of things to do. Yang Chung simply said goodbye and drove away from the resort alone. Perhaps it was because he was used to driving the M3 in Zhonghai. Yang Chung naturally chose to continue driving the BMW. Although this configuration made the acceleration of 100 kilometers per hour slower than the M3 by 3 seconds, there was no need for a high-performance car to walk in the city. Since the car was already installed with a GPS system, Yang Chung easily found the Tang family's location. Back at the Tang family's mansion, some of the Tang family servants looked curiously at Yang Chung driving in. He clearly walked when he left. Why did he drive back? Could it be that this distinguished guest went out to buy a car? After Yang Chung parked the car, he was about to return to Tang Wan's mansion. However, after walking for a while, he saw a large group of men and women standing outside a mansion that belonged to an unknown Tang family member. It seemed that most of them were servants of the Tang family, and they seemed to be watching a show. Yang Chung was worried that he had nothing to do in the afternoon. Suddenly, his interest was piqued. He squeezed into the middle of the group and saw the happy scene inside. It was Li Dun again. This mansion was where the third son of the Tang family and his daughter, Tang Xian, lived. Li Dun was dressed in a white suit and trousers. He was really dressed like a dog. In his hand was a large bouquet of white roses, and he was kneeling on one knee in front of the front door of the mansion. On the steps of the door, Tang Xian, who was wearing a plain dress, was frowning. Her hands were intertwined with the hem of her dress, and she looked at the kneeling Li Dun helplessly. As for the third son of the Tang family, Tang Xian's father, who was also Tang Xian's father, he looked anxious and a little annoyed as he muttered something behind Tang Xian. Yang Chung grabbed a male servant beside him and asked, What's going on? The male servant replied respectfully, Mr. Yang, young Master Li just came over to propose to Miss Tang Xian, but she refused. Now young Master Li Dun is kneeling and refusing to get up. Third Master Tang is very anxious. Yang Chung almost laughed out loud. Propose? Li Dun was really eager to eat hot tofu. Yang Chung did not expect Li Dun to be so infatuated. He shamelessly thought that Li Dun was a little like himself. He walked up to Li Dun with a smile and patted him on the shoulder. Old Li, other people propose with red roses. Why'd you buy a bouquet of white roses? Li Dun had seen Yang Chung long ago, but he was still in the position of proposing and did not pay attention to him. At this moment, he glanced at Yang Chung and said softly, Damn, do you think I want to? I don't know what happened to red roses recently, but the price has increased by several times. It's not even Valentine's Day. I'm confused. I have no choice. I don't have enough money, so I have to buy white roses. Yang Chung was once again convinced that this guy was definitely a miser. He felt a little better about the ramen incident last time. You can't just kneel like this. You should say something more touching. Li Dun pulled a long face. I've said everything I need to say. If I had anything to say, would I still be kneeling like this? At this moment, Tang Xian, who was on the stairs, bit her lip. She seemed to have made up her mind. She shook her head and said, Young Master Li, please go back. I really can't agree to this. Li Dun pretended not to hear her and replied indifferently, Miss Tang Xan, marry me. The servants around them were trying hard not to laugh. Li Dun's shamelessness was quite amusing to them. Third brother Tang was so anxious that he was pacing around in circles. How could his daughter not see the big picture? It was a blessing that the young master of the Li family wanted to marry her. If Li Dun did not fall in love with her for no reason, how could an insignificant woman like her have the chance to marry into the Li family? Xin, don't talk nonsense. Are you trying to get your father killed? If you marry into the Li family, it will be of great benefit to the Tang family. Tang San hurriedly said to Tang Xin. Tears welled up in Tang Xin's eyes. She whispered, Father, is my marriage only for the benefit of the family? Tang Sin choked. He did not know what to say. He ran down the stairs and tried to pull Li Dun up. He smiled and said, Young Master Li, it's Tang Xin's fault. I've spoiled her too much. Don't kneel. If you kneel, people will think that the Tang family is not a good host. Let's get up and talk about this. Young Master Li likes Tang Xin. That's her good fortune. We will definitely support young Master Li in marrying Xin. Li Dun's body was not something an ordinary person could control. No matter how Tang Sin tried to pull him up, Li Dun refused to get up. Father-in-law, you don't have to pull me up. I will not get up. I must kneel and wait for Miss Tang Xin to agree. The crowd burst into an uproar. Father-in-law, even Tang San was stunned. This Li Dun was too much. Tang Xin did not even have the slightest intention of agreeing, and this brat had already called him father-in-law. Tang Sin did not know whether to laugh or cry. Seeing Yang Cheng beside him, he remembered that Li Dun and Yang Cheng were friends. He quickly begged, Young Master Yang, please persuade young Master Li. What is this? Are you trying to shorten my lifespan? Before Yang Cheng could say anything, Li Dun shouted, Father-in-law, your fortune is as boundless as the East Sea, and you will live as long as the South Mountain. This time, all the servants around burst into laughter. Tang San was on the verge of breaking down. Yang Cheng touched his forehead. It was a little embarrassing to know this guy. He was too thick-skinned. At this moment, a certain someone had selectively forgotten how thick his skin was. At this moment, Tang Xin seemed to have hardened her heart. She said in a clear voice, Young Master Li, I will tell you the truth. The reason I cannot accept you is because I already have someone in my heart. I can't accept you, so don't waste your efforts. As soon as she said this, everyone looked at Tang Xin in surprise. Not only was Tang Xin quite bold, but since when did this unknown third daughter of the family have someone in her heart? And for that person, she was willing to reject someone like Li Dun. Li Dun's face froze. The passion in his eyes subsided a little, as if trying to determine if Tang Xin was speaking the truth. Tang San frowned and walked up to her. Xin, is it true? Which family's young master is he? Tang Xin kept her mouth shut and lowered her head, as if she did not want to say anything. Tang San wanted to ask more, but was interrupted by Li Dun. Father-in-law, don't ask anymore. To me, it doesn't matter who Miss Tang Xin likes, because I have confidence that I can defeat any rival in love. The cadence of these words almost made it sound like an oath of loyalty to the country. Tang Xin raised her head and looked at Li Dun. The two looked at each other. The girl's face was full of bitterness and helplessness, while Li Dun was full of confidence. But this time, Li Dun took the initiative to stand up. Miss Tang Xin, thank you for telling me the truth. I will take my leave now, but that doesn't mean I've given up. I will come often in the future and use all my sincerity to pursue you. I know Miss Tang Xin needs time to think things through. I still have some matters to attend to in the army, so I will take my leave first. With that, Li Dun tore off his white suit in front of everyone, revealing the short-sleeved military uniform underneath. His expression turned solemn. Li Dun gave Yang Cheng a look of greeting, then took the bouquet of white roses that he did not get to give away and walked out of the villa proudly. Since Li Dun had left, the surrounding servants also hurriedly dispersed. Yang Cheng looked at Tang Xin, who was standing on the stairs absent-mindedly, and Tang San, who was chattering non-stop beside her. Yang Cheng revealed a playful smile. After a while, he walked back to Tang Wan's villa. Yang Cheng found that there was not a single servant in the living room, but a graceful figure was busy in the kitchen. Tang Wan's hair was tied up, and she was wearing a beige lace dress with a gray pattern. Below her was a short, pleated skirt. Her fair, slender legs were like a meticulously sculpted work of art. Just looking at her back made Yang Cheng's heart beat faster. Sensing that Yang Cheng had entered the house, Tang Wan turned around and smiled. She then continued to process the fresh beans in her hands, removing the inedible stems. "Why are you home so early? Didn't you say that you were bringing Tang Tang to visit friends and family?" Yang Cheng walked behind the beauty and hugged Tang Wan from the waist. His body pressed tightly against hers, and his hand naturally caressed Tang Wan's delicate abdomen through her clothes. He felt the warmth and softness of Tang Wan's beautiful body and enjoyed inhaling the woman's rich fragrance. Tang Wan pursed her lips shyly and said, "Don't be so touchy as soon as you come back. I was supposed to come back later, but that girl said she was tired and wanted to take an afternoon nap, so I had to give up. Go watch TV for a while. I'll make dinner. I'm preparing it now." Yang Cheng spread out his divine sense and checked the situation of the entire villa. After confirming that there was no one else other than Tang Tang who was sleeping soundly upstairs, he stopped what he was doing and gradually moved one hand up and the other down on Tang Wan's sensitive abdomen. Tang Wan immediately realized Yang Cheng's evil thoughts, but before she could resist, one of Yang Cheng's hands had already covered the snowy peak on her left. Tang Wan felt that the sensitive areas on her abdomen and chest were covered by a blazing heat, making her feel as if electricity was running through her body. Especially a certain part of her body, it was as if a stream was about to start flowing. She had just tasted the feeling of a man and a woman making love not too long ago. Last night, there was still some pain, but today, after being teased, a raging flame was ignited for so many years. She had kept her chastity as a jade and suddenly had that kind of ecstasy baptism. It was not an exaggeration to say that Tang Wan was more eager than ordinary women of this age. When Yang Cheng's hot breath invaded the back of Tang Wan's ear, Tang Wan finally couldn't help letting out a moan. Don't do it here." Tang Wan's whole body seemed to have become melted chocolate, sweet and tempting. She slumped on Yang Cheng's body, and the beans in her hand also fell. Hearing this seductive voice, Yang Cheng's bones almost went limp. He smiled evilly and said, "If we go upstairs, we will wake that girl up. I think the kitchen is good." "Be good. Lie on the counter. I'll do it." Tang Wan looked at the empty white plastic counter that Yang Cheng pointed at and thought of lying on it. Just the image that vaguely appeared in her mind made her so shy that she wanted to die. Even if you don't want it, you have to." Yang Cheng didn't care about the woman's duplicity. He simply picked up Tang Wan and sent her to the spacious counter just like that. Tang Wan clearly realized that her plump but was facing Yang Cheng. She didn't dare to open her eyes at all. She buried her head and trembled all over, not knowing whether it was out of fear or excitement. Following that, Tang Wan felt a chill behind her. The scenery under her skirt was exposed to the air. Realizing what was going to happen next, Tang Wan was filled with desire again, but Yang Cheng wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he admired Tang Wan's perfect inverted triangular back and buttocks for a while, as well as Tang Wan's beautiful white legs that were rubbing and twisting in excitement, before pouncing on her. In the end, when a ball of fiery heat broke through, Tang Wan instantly felt as if she had fallen into a ball of clouds that had forgotten everything. She tumbled about in the clouds and rain like a lonely boat, swaying uncontrollably and falling deeply into it. Chapter 650. After being ridiculous for an entire afternoon, Tang Wan, who was going to cook herself, had to ask the servants to fetch the food from the kitchen. When Tang Tang went downstairs to eat, she found that the food was suddenly cooked in the kitchen of the Tang family again. She blinked her eyes and looked at Tang Wan in a daze, but she did not think too much about it. In Tang Tang's mind, she did not think that her mother was so unrestrained. Tang Wan pretended that nothing had happened to maintain the dignity of a mother, which made Yang Cheng feel quite amused. However, he did not forget to mention that Choi Yun was coming to Yinjing. When Tang Wan and her mother heard that Yang Cheng was going to accompany Choi Yun to the Kai family to confess their relationship, Tang Wan showed a helpless look of jealousy, while Tang Dang strongly looked at Yang Cheng with disdain. "Uncle, if you confess, how many lovers do you have?" Tang Dang asked with dissatisfaction and arrogance. Yang Cheng rolled his eyes. How could he say that out loud? He pretended that he heard nothing. Tang Wan patted her daughter's thigh from under the table. "Don't ask so many questions. After eating, go back upstairs to study." Tang Dang pouted and said, "Mom, you're so easy to bully. Uncle will have more and more lovers in the future." Tang Wan snorted and glanced at Yang Cheng. "If he has more, then so be it. This is something that his wife should worry about. Anyway, we just care about ourselves, and it has nothing to do with him. He could do whatever he wants." Yang Cheng almost choked on the food in his mouth. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. It was not that Tang Wan was ignoring him, but that she had drawn a clear line between them. Regardless of whether Yang Cheng would have a good life in the future, she would only maintain this kind of distance. She had absolutely no intention of relying on him. Perhaps it was because she was used to being a strong woman. Even if she fell in love with him, Tang Wan did not lose her backbone. The next day, Yang Cheng arrived at the domestic arrival area of the airport as scheduled. After waiting for a while, he saw a beautiful figure coming towards him from the exit. She had smooth, shoulder-length hair and wore a pair of white-framed sunglasses. She wore a white silk dress, a cherry red round-neck suit jacket, a pair of tight-fitting white riveted pencil pants, and a pair of white leather high-heeled sandals. Cayenne, who rarely wore her own clothes in the past, looked much more impactful now that she was dressed like this. She dragged her black suitcase along the way, causing many passers-by in the airport to turn their heads. This made Yang Cheng, who was waiting, feel rather satisfied. At the same time, he lamented why he didn't notice that the policewoman actually had a feminine side to her. The two bumped into each other. Choi Yun took off her sunglasses, let go of the suitcase, and opened her arms to hug Yang Cheng tightly, as if she wanted to hang her body on Yang Cheng. She even crossed her legs. Yang Cheng smelled the faint scent of the woman's body that resembled sunlight. Smiling, he reached out his hand and patted the beauty's back. "Why are you so clingy the moment you got off the plane? It's not like you. Anyway, this is not Zhonghai, and I'm not a police officer. If you want, why don't you carry me out of the airport?" Choi Yun smiled playfully. Yang Cheng raised his eyebrows and said, "Do you really think I don't dare?" Seeing the smirk in Yang Cheng's eyes, Choi Yun immediately let go and curled her lips. "Pretend I didn't say anything." The two teased for a while, and Yang Cheng naturally took the suitcase, held Choi Yun's hand, and walked out of the airport. Speaking of which, he never thought that he would go this far with Choi Yun. But now that things have gone smoothly, Yang Cheng also enjoyed the violent police beauty's gentle side at this moment. After putting the suitcase down, they sat in the Z4 car. Yang Cheng started the car and asked, "What's the itinerary? Where are we going first?" Choi Yun said directly, "Of course to my house. The sooner we get it done, the better." Yang Cheng smiled and said, "For what you said, why do you sound like you're worried that I won't go to your house to propose?" Choi Yun pouted and said, "If I don't get it done, I won't feel at ease. If everything is done, I won't feel the slightest bit nervous." Yang Cheng smiled knowingly and said, "Tell me the address. I'll use the GPS to navigate." In the western suburbs of Beijing, after leaving the city, along the way, there are all kinds of hilly landforms. After crossing over a few small hills, a large area was surrounded by barbed wire in a secluded forest. On the outskirts of the area, there were many soldiers armed with live ammunition. There is a metal sign with the words 3rd Artillery Barracks Training Base written in red on it. No one had ever come close to this area, and even the old people in Beijing didn't know that it looked like a military base, but it was actually a huge underground weapons research base. At this very moment, in an underground base built of alloy steel plates, in a long corridor, bright lights illuminated everything down to the finest detail. A man in a white coat led a gloomy man in a white vest to a sealed laboratory. "Prepare yourself. I'll let you see something that will make you excited. the man with a beard and shoulder-length hair said with a strange grin. The young soldier behind him snorted and said, Yin Buin, you brought me here for so long, either to check my body or to test my stamina, and now you're even showing me around. If you don't show me the way to become stronger that you mentioned, then I'll leave immediately. Yin Buin said without turning his head. Major General Yang Lai, I have to say, you're really impatient. Testing your body and stamina is to confirm whether or not you can successfully transform. If you don't make those preparations, then it'll be irresponsible to you. I'm a scientist. I'm very strict. Don't doubt my scientific attitude. Yang Lai couldn't deny it, but he didn't continue to ask. When the two of them walked to the sealed steel door, Yin Buin aimed one of his eyeballs at the iris detector on the door. After a few beeps, the door opened in 6 directions in the form of a hexagon. Yang Lai frowned because he smelled an inexplicable stench drifting out of the secret room. Please come in. Yin Buin made an inviting gesture. Yang Lai narrowed his eyes and carefully walked into the dimly lit secret room. Just as he took a few steps into the secret room, Yang Lai vigilantly dodged to the left. Roar! With a hoarse roar, a black shadow suddenly shot out from a corner like a cannonball, almost knocking Yang Lai to the ground. Yang Lai cursed bastard in his heart. He didn't know what kind of monster Yin Buin had locked in here, so he could only immediately listen attentively. Although Yang Cheng had crippled his internal force, his physical fitness and acuity were still there, carefully sensing the movements of the monster. Yin Buin calmly walked to a position on the wall, turned on the lights in the room, crossed his hands in front of his chest, and calmly watched Yang Lai's fight. After a few dodges, Yang Lai finally saw clearly what kind of monster was attacking him. To be precise, it wasn't a monster, but a movement similar to that of an animal, a human. It was a muscular man who was completely naked. His veins were bulging all over his body, and his muscles were as sturdy as rocks. His eyes were completely bloodshot, and saliva was dripping from the gaps between his teeth. The stench that he had smelled earlier was caused by this creature that was neither human nor ghost, who was defecating and urinating at will. What is this? Yang Lai was shocked, not because of this guy's appearance, but because he realized that this monster's physical fitness actually made him, a master who was once close to the Xiantian realm, feel a sense of oppression. Yin Buin didn't answer, and the monster man madly pounced at Yang Lai again. This time, the monster man's speed was exceptionally fast, and Yang Lai's face was almost scratched, but even so, there was still a scratch on his arm. Yang Lai angrily snorted, and with a roundhouse kick, he hit the monster's ribs. Roar! The monster roared, but there was no reaction, as if the kick that could shatter tens of centimeters of marble was as ineffective as hitting a cotton ball. How is this possible? Yang Lai's eyes widened, and he shouted in his heart, but he didn't have the chance to think too much, because the monster had inconceivably twisted its body, withdrawing its powerful inertia, and was stunned to punch at Yang Lai's head. Yang Lai instantly exploded with all his strength, causing a violent explosion in the narrow space. Bang bang! The meteor-like fist did not blow up Yang Lai's head, but Yang Lai's counterattack had sent his body flying a few meters, crashing into an iron wall, as if his bones were about to fall apart. The monster suffered a heavy blow, but it didn't look too bad. After rolling on the ground a few times, it got up again, staring at Yang Lai, but didn't rashly attack again. Yin Buin laughed. How is it? This surprise is not bad, right? Bastard. What the hell is it? Yang Lai cursed. Just as Yin Buin was about to explain, the monster turned its head to Yin Buin, as if it felt that Yang Lai was a difficult bone to chew, and Yin Buin might be a good target. Of course, Yin Buin also noticed it, and a trace of sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he hooked his finger at the monster. The monster seemed to be instinctively stimulated, and with a roar, it pounced at Yin Buin. Yin Buin stood in the same place, and with one hand, he grabbed at the monster. It seemed to be slow, but it was actually fast, and it magically broke the laws of physics and grabbed the monster's head first. Ka-ka! Bang! There were a few crisp sounds of bones, and then there was a violent sound. The monster's head was crushed into pieces by Yin Buin's hand. Yang Lai looked at Yin Buin, dumbfounded. The man in the white coat finished all of this easily, and only helplessly shook off the red and white things in his hand. Chapter 651. Yang Lai really didn't want to believe what he had just seen. He had to use all of his strength to send the monster flying, but Yin Buin, this seemingly weak scholar, had actually killed it with one move. In fact, he didn't even understand how Yin Buin had done it. Yin Buin realized that the blood on his hands didn't seem to be able to be wiped clean. He sighed and stuck out his tongue to lick the fingers on his left hand, sucking some of the blood into his mouth. He didn't feel the slightest bit dirty. Yang Lai frowned, came back to his senses, and said, "You'd better give me a reasonable explanation." Yin Buin glanced at him and said, "Do you know what the predecessor of this finished product was?" "Predecessor?" Yang Lai shook his head. Yin Buin said, "He's just an ordinary artillery soldier. He can't even be considered a special forces soldier. At most, he's just a little stronger." "How is this possible?" Yang Lai looked at the headless corpse in a daze. This monster was just an ordinary person before. Yin Buin turned his back and took a deep breath of the smell of blood and urine in the air, as if he was enjoying it very much. He said, "The biggest reason you are willing to come here with me is because you want to defeat Yang Cheng. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Ask yourself, how much do you know about Yang Cheng? Do you know why he is stronger than you?" Yang Lai was silent. He couldn't answer, because in his eyes, that despicable man had inexplicably appeared in his originally beautiful world. Then he shattered everything that was originally beautiful to pieces. "Take it away." Yin Buin continued. "When Yang Cheng was young, he was once taken to do some biochemical experiments by the first generation of the Zero organization, which is also the world's #1 assassin organization. There were thousands of children who were brought to that kind of experiment, and they were all children with relatively good physiques. Among these children, only Yang Cheng survived. From then on, his strength grew much faster than the others. Furthermore, his physical fitness has also increased exponentially with his age and his strength." Yang Lai's eyes lit up. Yang Cheng had actually relied on scientific experiments to achieve such results. If that was the case, Yin Buin might not have lied to him. Yin Buin turned around and pointed at the headless corpse on the ground. "I made this experiment yesterday. It can be said to be the most basic experiment. I replicated Yang Cheng's genes and allowed this soldier's body to have Yang Cheng's genetic code. Then, through the divine light experiment that Yang Cheng had undergone back then, I gave him the most basic modifications. The results are very good. Sure enough, as long as you have Yang Cheng's genes as a foundation, even ordinary humans can be incomparably strengthened under the illumination of the divine light." Yang Lai heard a trace of abnormality and frowned. "Are you kidding me? Do you think I'm a fool? Even if I'm not a scientist, I know that if you want to get that bastard's genes, you need to take a sample from him. Would he be careless enough to let you take a sample and not feel it? Even if your hidden strength is indeed shocking, you can't compare to him." Yin Buin tilted his head and said with an evil smile, "That's right. I really can't take Yang Cheng's genes. However, I naturally have my ways. You don't have to doubt this." Seeing that Yang Lai didn't ask any more questions, Yin Buin continued, "You also felt it just now. As long as ordinary people are exposed to the divine light, they can also become incomparably powerful monsters. Take a guess, this monster's physical fitness. How does it compare to Yang Cheng's?" Yang Lai pondered for a moment, then shook his head and said, "I don't know." Yin Buin stopped smiling and said seriously, "I can tell you, based on the approximate data I deduced from Yang Cheng's genes. Yang Cheng's physical fitness, conservatively estimated, is more than 10 times stronger than this monster." Yang Lai's face turned ashen. Although he knew that Yang Cheng's body was definitely more terrifying than this monster's, he didn't think that there would be such a big gap. Yin Buin said, "In other words, even if you didn't have your internal energy crippled, even if you used all your strength, you might not be able to hurt 1/10 of Yang Cheng. And this is Yang Cheng only using his body, without any skills or skills." Yang Lai clenched his fists, his entire body trembling. "Child Yang, if you want to get rid of Yang Cheng, fully cooperate with my experiment. This is your only way out. Otherwise, there will be no chance in this lifetime. Yin Buin smiled temptingly. Yang Lai's heart skipped a beat, but when he noticed the headless corpse on the ground, his heart turned cold. If you turn me into the guy on the ground, then what's the point of me killing him? TCK. No. Yin Buin shook his finger and said, I said it before, this guy was just an ordinary person before. Furthermore, his body didn't have any of Yang Cheng's genes as a foundation, so he couldn't resist the fatal side effects of the divine light. That's why he became an idiot who only knew the instincts of a monster. Major General Yang Lai is different. I think highly of you because in your body flows the same blood as Yang Cheng. Although you are unwilling to admit it. Yang Lai was startled. Looking at Yin Buin's devil-like smile, he subconsciously understood the reason why Yin Buin had taken the initiative to find him, hoping to cooperate with his experiment. Blood relationship. He and Yang Cheng had the same blood relationship. Yin Buin said loudly, Yang Cheng's genes have already been strengthened countless times. Compared to the first time Yang Cheng received the divine light, they are much stronger. Therefore, as long as there is the most suitable carrier and perfectly fused with Yang Cheng's genes, then the divine light's illumination will only bring about pure strengthening, without the slightest side effect. Yang Lai asked, but, according to your theory, even if the experiment succeeds, he can only have that kind of body like Yang Cheng's. But that bastard doesn't only have one body. He has already stepped into the Xiantian full circle and is even getting stronger. He also has the means of the Lord God. Do you want me to fight him head-on? Yin Buin sighed. Young General Yang Lai, I can only say that you are unable to understand many scientific theories. I can only tell you the most superficial ones. Speak, Yang Lai said coldly. Have you heard of Dawkins's survival mechanism? Oh no, you definitely haven't heard of it. Yin Buin patted his head and continued. In short, the human body is just a tool to carry genes. What really dominates everything is our genes. No matter how powerful Yang Cheng's abilities are, it's just the effect of his genes constantly strengthening. As long as our genes are modified to be stronger than Yang Cheng's, we won't need to make any other efforts, and we will naturally surpass Yang Cheng. Don't talk to me about realm and divine power. Those things are just gifts brought about by genes. Genes are not only the human body, but a higher level is all the abilities of humans. After the call, Yang Lai's heartbeat sped up. He swallowed his saliva and asked, What evidence do you have? Evidence? Yin Buin seemed to find it particularly funny and laughed. I am the evidence. You? Yang Lai was stunned and said, You mean you also carried out genetic modification on yourself? Otherwise, do you think I would have time to train like you guys when I'm doing scientific experiments and researching weapons all day? Yin Buin said proudly, I only need to modify my genes, and I will be able to surpass your 20 years of martial arts training. How about it? The truth is right in front of you. If you still don't believe me, then I'll send you out. You can continue to be a pitiful worm in front of Yang Cheng. You're trying to provoke me, Yang Lai said unhappily. So what if I am? You can't beat me, Yin Buin said disdainfully. Yang Lai was furious, but he had nowhere to vent it. He knew that from what Yin Buin did just now, he was qualified to say that he was no match for him. I think the title of Beijing King Duo doesn't suit you anymore, Yang Lai said softly. You should be much more terrifying than that Li Dun. I never admitted it in the first place, Yin Buin shrugged. Yang Lai looked confused and said, I really want to know why you are helping me go against Yang Cheng. What is your real goal? I'm definitely doing it for myself. You don't have to think too much about it. You won't understand it anyway. Yin Buin didn't intend to explain it all. Yang Lai stood up straight and said proudly, I don't know what you want to do, but there's nothing in this world that can scare me. But Yin Buin, listen carefully. I can cooperate with you even if I know you're using me as a guinea pig. But if you turn me into a monster, I won't let you go even if I die. Don't say that, Yin Buin laughed and said, Welcome to my God creation project, my dear young General Yang Lai. For Yang Cheng, who drove to the Kai family's compound in Beijing, there were some things that he didn't know before they happened. He parked the car outside the wall that was covered in vines. As soon as Yang Cheng got out of the car, he slapped his forehead and said, "Ah, I miscalculated. Yeonyeon, it's my first time at your house. Should I have brought some gifts?" Choi Yun blinked her long eyelashes and said, "I think you should have brought some gifts. I've seen other people's sons-in-law do the same thing." Yang Chung was speechless. If it was women like Mo Chieni or Lu Mingyu, they would have thought of this a long time ago. But Choi Yun had always been short-tempered. No matter how delicate she looked, she couldn't help but be careless. She couldn't remember such etiquettes. Unfortunately, he had a free and easy personality. Now, he came to ask for his daughter, empty-handed. Yang Chung touched his forehead and clicked his tongue. "Forget it, go ahead. Your father entrusted you to me long ago. It should be fine." Choi Yun asked doubtfully, "What do you mean entrusted? What did my father say to you?" Yang Chung laughed casually. He felt that it was better not to tell her about how Kai Yunxing asked him to take special care of Choi Yun. Otherwise, Choi Yun's stubborn temper would make him unhappy again. Just like that, the two of them walked shoulder to shoulder. Just as they were about to enter the courtyard, they saw a graceful and elegant figure walk out from the door. She was wearing a black chiffon dress and a white open-collar dress jacket. It was Kai Ning, who was dressed for home. Her cold face, as usual, had a friendly smile on it. Seeing that her only sister had returned home, the woman seemed happy but didn't know how to express it. She glanced at Yang Chung and said, "I've been waiting for you for a long time. Come in." Chapter 652. The Kai residence was quieter than Yang Chung had imagined. It wasn't a big place, and there were only 2 or 3 sisters-in-law to help with the daily chores. There weren't any soldiers guarding the place either. Considering Kai Yunqing's military rank, this kind of extravagance was rather low-key. Kai Yun was also extremely excited to see her sister. She grabbed Kai Ning's arm and walked in front of her to the living room. She kept talking about who she had interrogated in Zhonghai over the past few days and what cases she had closed. It was obvious that she wanted to take credit for it. Kai Ning just smiled as she listened to her sister's chatter. She responded with a few indifferent words, but it seemed very acceptable. In the living room, Kai Yunqing was sitting on a mahogany chair and reading the military newspaper. When he saw Kai Ning and Yang Chung arrive, he slowly got up and smiled. "You guys are really punctual. We were about to have dinner when you guys arrived." "Dad, I missed you so much." Choi Yun let go of her sister and jumped into Kai Yunqing's embrace. She hugged him tightly like a little girl. Kai Yunqing seemed a little helpless as he was hugged by his daughter like a wooden block. He smiled bitterly at Yang Chung. The two of them weren't strangers, and this meeting was more of a formality. Yang Chung was a little dumbfounded. He had never seen Choi Yun act like a spoiled child. For a moment, he even forgot to greet Kai Yunqing. Kai Ning seemed to have noticed the change in Yang Cheng's expression. She said in a clear voice, "You didn't expect it, did you? Yeonyeon has always been like a child who can't grow up." Yang Cheng's mind quivered. He looked at the girl beside him and was a little lost in thought. In fact, from the moment they met, he felt a little suffocated when he thought about how she had to take the blame for his crime and marry Yeonyi. Are you all right?" Yang Chun hesitated for a while before asking in a reserved manner. Kai Ning paused for a moment, then suddenly smiled relaxedly. "What are you referring to? I heard from Yeonyeon that you don't like Yeonyi. Actually, you don't have to go to that extent. I can bear everything. They can't do anything to me," Yang Chung said seriously. Kai Ning shook her head. "Why did you have to make a big deal out of it? It's just a marriage. That way, everyone will be fine. Even if I do get married, I'll still be doing my job in the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. It doesn't matter to me whether I like it or not." Yang Chung was a little speechless. He didn't expect Kai Ning to take it so lightly, but he still felt uncomfortable. He didn't know why he felt so conflicted and uncomfortable. "Can you tell me, why did you help me?" Yang Chung finally asked. Kai Ning smiled nonchalantly. "Didn't I say it before? You saved my life, so of course I have to repay you. Also, since Yeonyeon has decided to be with you, you're also our family. Moreover, she's my only sister and I haven't really taken care of her since she was young. To be able to help the person she likes and also save my life, I feel that it's worth it. It's nothing." Yang Chung felt a little sour in his heart. He was thinking about how to convince Kai Ning to give up on the idea. He didn't believe that a young and beautiful woman would be willing to marry a man she didn't like or even hated. Suddenly, he heard a few footsteps from inside the room. "You've been chattering nonstop ever since you came back. Come and eat." The one who spoke was a middle-aged woman. She wore simple yet elegant clothes and had bright eyes. She looked quite similar to the Kai sisters. With one look, it was obvious that she was the matriarch of the Kai family. She was also the one Choi Yun had mentioned before, their mother, Jiang Shan. Jiang Shan brought 2 helpers with her and brought the prepared dishes to the dining table in the living room. Only then did she walk up to her daughter, Choi Yun, with a smile. Full of heartache, she said, "You must be tired from the flight. Sit down and eat." Choi Yun shook her head. "How could that be? Mom, it's not like you don't know that I've been through special forces training. All right, this is the boyfriend I said I'd bring home to meet you, Yang Chung." Choi Yun finally remembered the important matter and quickly introduced him to her mother. Just as Yang Chung was about to go up and greet them, he saw Jiang Shan turn her head and glare at him unwelcoming. Instead, she rushed to ask, "You're Yang Chung?" Yang Chung stiffened and smiled awkwardly. That's me. Why does Annie seem to have some misunderstanding about me?" "Misunderstanding?" Jiang Shan sneered. "If it wasn't for you, why would my Ning heir be grounded in Beijing? Why would she have to go around begging for mercy? Now, our eldest daughter is going to be sent away like she's throwing herself at someone else. Are you happy now?" I say, when did you say something like that? It's all in the past." Kai Yunqing didn't seem to dare to stop his wife, so he could only try to comfort her. Jiang Shan was unwilling. "What do you mean by it's all in the past? A guy who popped out of nowhere suddenly seduced my youngest daughter. He's not even legally married to her. This is enough to make me angry. He even ruined my eldest daughter's happiness. How can I not be angry?" Yang Chung rubbed his nose. It seemed that he had indeed gone a little overboard. If it wasn't for Choi Yun running away from home to participate in special training because of him, causing Jiang Shan to be heartbroken, she probably wouldn't have reluctantly agreed to let Choi Yun be with him. Originally, even if she couldn't manage her youngest daughter for the rest of her life, she still had her eldest daughter to rely on. She didn't expect her eldest daughter's marriage to be set in such a situation. How could her mother not be angry? Yang Chung didn't say anything. Fortunately, he was thick-skinned. Despite Jiang Shan's murderous glare, he sat down at the dining table and chuckled. "This food is quite sumptuous. I'm a little hungry. Everyone, hurry up and eat. It'll be bad if the food gets cold." Choi Yun was worried that Yang Chung would be embarrassed. She was anxious for him, but when she saw Yang Chung so calm as if nothing had happened, she was both angry and amused. She sat down as well. Jiang Shan was like a newly ignited flame that had been sucked away by the air. Without oxygen, she couldn't burn up no matter what. She could only sit down and sulk. Kai Yunqing looked like he was having a headache. He got someone to bring a bottle of Maodai and poured a cup for Yang Chung. "Yang Chung, we both know what's going on in our meeting today. Don't blame your auntie for not being nice to you. No parent would feel on sheen when they see their 2 children's lives deviate from their original path because of one person." Yang Chung said self-deprecatingly, "I've already taken advantage of her. It's only right that I get scolded." It's good that you know," Jiang Shan said disdainfully. "I really don't know what Yonyan sees in you. She almost lost her life because of you. If it wasn't for this girl being so stubborn, I would definitely object to the relationship between you two. It's not something to be proud of. If my daughter is wronged in the future, I'll be the first to come after you." Yang Cheng's face twitched as he looked at the ferocious Jiang Shan. He hurriedly nodded in agreement. Fortunately, Kai Yunqing mediated and the lunch ended smoothly. Although Jiang Shan didn't like Yang Chung, she didn't want to keep it up. She gave Yang Chung a few looks of disdain and let it go. After lunch, Kai Yunqing gestured for Yang Chung to follow him to the study. Kai Ning and Choi Yun hadn't seen each other for a long time, so they naturally went to the garden to chat. When they arrived at Kai Yunqing's study, Yang Chung casually pulled a chair and sat down. He crossed his legs and stretched. He yawned and asked, "Why are you still being so secretive? Annie might think that I'm not only stealing her daughter, but also her husband." Kai Yunqing only chuckled. He didn't take Yang Cheng's joke seriously. He sat down and said, "You've been in Beijing for a few days. You've stirred up the water in Beijing. It's a little unstable now." Yang Cheng asked doubtfully, "Did I do anything to make things difficult for you? The Green Dragon Society's matter should be over by now, right?" Kai Yinqing asked directly. Yang Cheng narrowed his eyes. Sure enough, everything about him was still under the surveillance of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. He smiled and said, "Could it be that General Kai thinks that I'll help the Green Dragon Society expand?" Kai Yinqing didn't deny it. He said, "Although you wouldn't do that, she's still Lu Qingshan's daughter and one of your lovers. You're not as straightforward with women as you are with men. I'm just confirming that Lu Qingshan is an ambitious person. I think you already know that. I hope you don't interfere with the affairs of Beijing. You should know that you're a sensitive person now. If you do something out of line and attract the attention of someone, no one can help you. From a personal point of view, I don't want anything to happen to my daughter's man." Yang Cheng shrugged. "I have to thank you for your honesty. But I think some things can't be avoided. I don't provoke certain people, but certain things will find me. I can only do my best not to implicate the people around me." Kai Yinqing sighed. What a worrisome answer. Let's not talk about this. Let's talk about the current situation. Yang Cheng chuckled. "That? Uncle Kai, what's going on with your wife? It's not a good idea to keep picking on me. Since we're going to be a family in the future, shouldn't we be more harmonious?" Kai Yinqing smiled. "That's your aunt's temper. She always wants her two daughters to marry into good families. Now you're forcing Yonyan to be your secret lover. As a mother, she can't reject it. Of course, it's hard for her to be nice to you. Actually, her attitude towards Yong Yi is much better. After all, Yong Yi is a descendant of the Li family. His parents, Li Xin and Guiyali, are both from big families and high officials. So, although Ning Er was forced to marry him, your aunt is quite satisfied with this marriage. What are you trying to say?" Yang Cheng frowned. Kai Yinqing smiled. "It's simple. The reason why she doesn't treat you well is that you're just a scoundrel in her eyes. Because of my identity, I won't tell her your real background. If you want your aunt to stop picking on you, the most direct way is to confirm your identity as the eldest grandson of the Yang family. That way, your aunt will like you more than Yongyi. Even if you're just a lover, being the future successor of the Yang family is also a good choice." Yang Cheng waved his hand decisively. "Forget it. This suggestion is completely meaningless. Anyway, I won't be embarrassed. Let's just leave it at that." Kai Yinqing shook his head helplessly. He still hoped that Yang Cheng would return to the Yang family. After all, Yang Cheng would become a core member of Hua Xia's family. In that case, Hong Ming would trust Yang Cheng more, and Yang Cheng and the people around him would be safe. Unfortunately, this young man's stubbornness was far beyond Kai Yunqing's expectation. Kai Yunqing had to change the topic. "Do you have any information on the Tang family's poisoning incident?" Yang Cheng looked up in confusion. "You're the head of an organization that specializes in intelligence. Why are you asking me?" Kai Yunqing said with a bitter smile. "Although we have our own intelligence network, not everyone can investigate the four major families' inner circle. If we knew that the Tang family poisoned Tang Zhichen and Tang Wan, we would have caught the culprit a long time ago. If the Tang family falls into chaos, many of Hua Xia's important industries will suffer a great loss. Then you guys should have a suspect," Yang Chun said with a smile. Kai Yinqing knocked on the table. "We have no evidence, so we can only suspect." "Me too. I'm also waiting for evidence, or I need a real background," Yang Cheng said. Just when Kai Yunqing was about to ask something, a servant came in from outside the study. "General Kai, young Master Yong Yi of the Li family is here. He said that he's going to take Miss Tang's wedding photos. He's already in the hall." Chapter 653. In the back garden, among the lush boxwood shrubs, there were clusters of purple flowers. In the center of the garden, Choi Yun and Kai Ning were sitting at a green stone table. On the table was a fragrant chrysanthemum tea, emitting waves of warmth. The two sisters didn't speak much, as if they were enjoying the quiet time together. Choi Yun held the bamboo teacup with both hands, as if thinking about something. Finally, she turned her head and asked, "Sister, you won't marry Yongyi, right?" Kaining lowered her head and smiled lightly. We've already agreed. How can I not marry him? But you don't like him at all. If you were willing, you would have married him a few years ago. Choi Yun frowned. Many people don't necessarily get married because they like someone. For someone like me, even if I don't get married, it doesn't make a difference, Kaining said. Choi Yun bit her thin lips and suddenly said, when we were in Zhonghai, I asked Yang Chung a question about you. Kaining was stunned. Kaining was stunned. She raised her head and looked at her sister in confusion. There was a strange look in her eyes. I asked him if he liked my sister. Kaining was stunned, as if she didn't know her biological sister. She wanted to say something but stopped and averted her gaze in a panic. Choi Yun smiled. Sister really likes Yang Chung. I didn't. Kaining rejected anxiously and shook her head. Yin, don't talk nonsense. I was only supervising Yang Chung back then. I'm just an ordinary friend with him. If he didn't save me, I wouldn't have helped him. Sister, you're anxious and starting to panic. This isn't like you. Choi Yun smiled bitterly. Although we've been separated since young and rarely see each other, we're still biological sisters. I know you better than you think. You can't lie to me. Kaining frowned and said seriously, Yeonyeon, don't let your imagination run wild. I know that you have sacrificed a lot to get to where you are today. I only hope that you can live happily in the future. Sister's matter had actually happened in the blink of an eye. Although I didn't like Yeonye that much, at least he wouldn't mistreat me. Also, Mom has already put a lot of effort into this marriage. I don't want to bring any more trouble to the family. Let's not talk about this anymore, okay? Kaining looked helplessly at Choi Yun with a pleading look. If I don't bring it up now, I'll regret it for the rest of my life, Choi Yun said earnestly. She stood up and walked over to Kaining. She grabbed both of Kaining's hands and said, Sister, you're always like this. You always think of others first. Ever since you were young, if you weren't doing this for the Kai family, then you were doing it for your parents. You learned this and that, and you did everything to the best of your ability. Back then, if it wasn't to help his father get promoted, he wouldn't have accepted the Tang sect's request to go to Shuchuan to learn martial arts. He wouldn't have been away for so many years. What are you going to think about your own life? Sister, are you going to live for someone else for the rest of your life? Kaining looked at her unfamiliar sister in a daze. She couldn't say a word. Live for someone else for the rest of my life. Kaining was stunned for a long time. She smiled bitterly and said, Silly girl, you're not someone else. You're my family. Then what about Yang Chung? You clearly like him. Are you going to give up just because he has other women by his side and because I like him too? Are you not even willing to try and say it? It's not like you don't know that bad guy has more than one woman by his side. Oomph. To be honest, I don't mind at all if you get involved. Anyway, I've already let Ruashi down. Let's just fight it out. Choi Yun pouted and said dejectedly. Kaining blushed slightly. What nonsense are you talking about? I really don't have that kind of relationship with Yang Chung. I'm helping him because if he continues to make a big deal out of this, it will cause a lot of chain reactions. Also, he's the man you like. I hope that both of you will be fine. Sister, you're lying. Choi Yun was very anxious. She couldn't hold her fiery temper any longer. But at this moment, a servant walked into the garden and interrupted Choi Yun. Eldest miss, second miss, young Master Yeonye from the Lee family is here. He said he wants to invite you to take wedding photos. Kaining's eyes dimmed. She stood up and said, Let's go. Don't let him wait too long. Choi Yun said unhappily, What wedding photos? The wedding date hasn't been set yet, right? Why is he in such a hurry? Yeonyeon, if you don't want to see Yeonye, you can stay here. We can talk about other things later, okay? Kaining said weakly and turned around to leave. Choi Yun clenched her teeth and stomped her feet angrily. Sister, don't you want to know what Yang Cheng's answer was? Kaining stopped in her tracks, but it was only for a short while before she walked out of the garden on her own. Watching her leave, Choi Yun closed her eyes in pain. Her eyelashes were slightly wet. In the living room of the Kai family, Yong Yi, who was dressed in an Armani suit, couldn't help but pace back and forth. Just the thought of the woman he had pursued for so many years was finally going to become his personal woman made his blood boil. Originally, he had pursued her countless times, but he was always coldly rejected. But heaven never bars one's way. because of that fellow named Yang Chung. And coincidentally, Kai Ning took the blame. Things took a turn for the worse. In the end, Kai Ning fell in front of him. Yang had already dreamed countless times about how he would humiliate the woman who had rejected him so many times and treated him so coldly. However, he also knew that Kai Yunqing was not a kind person. Before he officially got married, he had to pretend to be a good son-in-law and do his best to get things done. After a while, someone finally walked out from the back. Yongye thought it was Kai Ning, but when he looked up, it was an unprepared old acquaintance. Yang Chung followed Kai Yunqing from the study to the living room. Although Kai Yunqing didn't specifically mention it, Yang Chung didn't know why, but he wanted to come out and take a look. Thinking about Kai Ning going to take wedding photos with this guy, Yang Chung couldn't deny that he felt uncomfortable. Uncle Kai, this is... Yongye looked at Yang Chung carefully. As the captain of Team 2 of the Dragon Group, although he knew that Yang Chung was in Beijing, he didn't expect him to appear in the Kai family's house. Kai Yunqing smiled and said, surprised? It's nothing. My second daughter, Yonyan, came home today, and Yang Chung came with her. Yongye nodded and smiled awkwardly at Yang Chung, but it looked worse than crying. Yang Chung was expressionless. In his heart, he was thinking if he should just kill Yongye so that he wouldn't bother Kai Ning and annoy him. But Yongye was involved with too many people. It wouldn't be easy to explain to the Li family, especially Li Dun, who was a friend of his. It wouldn't be right for him to kill his cousin. At that moment, Jiang Shan came in with Kai Ning. Jiang Shan smiled and said, Yongye, why are you so impatient? We haven't even talked about the wedding date, and you're already thinking about taking wedding photos? Although she said she was impatient, Jiang Shan's expression was full of joy. Yongye was very relaxed in front of his mother-in-law. He smiled warmly and said, I want to give Ning Er a perfect wedding. Of course, the earlier the better. As he spoke, Yongye looked at the silent Kai Ning. Looking at Kai Ning's demure temperament in her dress, his eyes burned with passion. He swallowed his saliva and said, Ning, I've already made an appointment with all the stylists and photographers. They're all professionals from overseas, and they've even worked with the Swedish royal family before. They'll definitely be able to make you the most beautiful bride in the photo. Do you want to get ready first, or do you want to leave now? Kai Ning didn't answer. She had been looking at where Yang Chung was standing since a while ago. She seemed to be in a daze and turned a deaf ear to him. Jiang Shan was a little anxious and quickly tried to smooth things over. Ning Er, tell me if it's okay or not. Look at how considerate Yongye is and how willing he is to do things for you. It's rare to see a good man like him. Don't delay and make him wait. Kai Ning still didn't answer. She walked to a place not far from Yang Chung and suddenly said, Do you think I should go? Chapter 654. Everyone was stunned. Kai Yunqing and Jiang Shan were stunned, while Yongye was stunned for a moment. Then, his face darkened and his eyes were filled with suppressed anger. Yang Chung had also noticed Kai Ning's gaze. When he heard the woman's question, his heart skipped a beat. It was as if a heavy stone had been released. Kai Ning's eyes were abnormally clear, but there was a strange sense of certainty in them. This made Yang Chung subconsciously recall that night in the forest when he saved Kai Ning from the hands of the vampire Lilith. At that time, this woman also looked at him with such a clear gaze. If I told you not to go, would you agree? Yang Chung blurted out. Kai Ning's lips twitched slightly. If you have a reason. I have a reason. Yang Chung grinned. The reason is that I don't like it. Kai Ning's eyes were slightly red, but she revealed a faint smile. Jiang Shan, who was watching the conversation between the two of them, noticed that Yongye was about to spit fire from his eyes. She immediately felt that the situation was not good. She wanted to chase Yang Chung out of the door. She hurriedly rushed over and grabbed Kai Ning's arm. Ninger, what's wrong with you? Why are you asking him about your marriage? Kai Ning looked at her mother apologetically. I'm sorry, Mom. It seems that I can't go today. Why? Yongye finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He shouted, just because this guy shamelessly said that he doesn't like it, you can't take wedding photos with your fiancé? Kai Ning, you have to give me a reasonable explanation. Jiang Shan was also angry. What nonsense are you talking about? You have to go. Kai Ning was silent. She bit her lips and didn't say a word. Since she said she doesn't want to go, then she doesn't have to go. Yang Cheng walked forward and pulled Kai Ning behind him. He smiled innocently and said, "Auntie, we can't force this matter. I think, other than the wedding photos, this engagement is a little unreasonable. Since the parties involved don't like it, why do we have to force this melon?" Jiang Shan was so angry that her chest was heaving up and down. She pointed a trembling finger at Yang Cheng. "Are you going to ruin our entire family before you're willing to give up? I just don't want to regret it later." Yang Cheng stopped smiling and said seriously, "Although I don't know why, I am against Kai Ning marrying this guy. I was the one who started it. Back then, I didn't think it through and caused Kai Ning to suffer a lot in Beijing. But I haven't lived to the point where I need a woman to protect me from the elements. Just do as I said and cancel this engagement." After saying that, Yang Cheng suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. It was like a rock that was hanging in the air was finally put down. Kai Ning stood behind Yang Cheng. She seemed to be struggling, but in the end, she closed her eyes as if she was going to leave everything to fate. "You? How are you going to bear it? If you're so capable, why did you have to let our Ning heir suffer? If it wasn't for Yonyan, I would have kicked you out right now." Jiang Shan was furious, and her face was red. Yang Cheng shrugged and said nonchalantly, "No problem. Don't mention kicking me out. I can even crawl if my mother-in-law wants me to. But if I go out, he has to go too." Yang Cheng pointed at where Yongye was standing. "Yongye is the son-in-law I found. Who do you think you are?" Jiang Shan snorted. Kai Yincheng finally became anxious. His wife was so aggressive. If Yang Cheng really got angry, no one would be able to stop him. Thus, he went up to help Jiang Shan up and frowned. "All right, don't make it sound so bad. Our daughter is here." Jiang Shan broke free from her husband's hand and frowned. "What's wrong? You're useless. I've been running around thinking of ways to protect Ning Air. Now, this shameless guy wants to ruin everything. Why can't I scold him?" Yongye was delighted to see Yang Cheng being scolded by Jiang Shan. He suddenly remembered that this was Beijing and he was a member of the Li family. Although Yang Cheng was powerful, he wouldn't dare to go against the Li family, right? Also, Kai Ning was still in a lawsuit. If it wasn't for the Li family's protection, she would have been in jail long ago. Thus, Yongye walked up and smiled evilly. "That's right, Uncle Kai. The marriage has already been decided. How can it be changed just like that? Moreover, we can't let an outsider mess things up. If you help Yang Cheng, it'll be hard for our family to accept." Unexpectedly, before Yongye could finish, Yang Cheng had already appeared behind him in a flash. He swung his arm around Yongye's neck and strangled it from behind. Ugh! Yongye didn't even have time to react. His entire airway was strangled. His face turned red, and he couldn't speak. The situation changed from a conversation to a violent one. "Ah!" Jiang Shan screamed. She didn't expect Yang Cheng to be so fast and fierce. He actually dared to make a move right in front of her. Under Yang Cheng's pressure, Yongye couldn't use any of his martial arts. He felt a chill in his heart. He felt a biting, cold, murderous aura emanating from Yang Cheng's body. He was so scared that he almost fainted. Yang Cheng moved Yongye's body like he was a puppet. He turned around and said to Jiang Shan, "Auntie, you seem to have misunderstood something. I'm listening to you not because I'm afraid of you, but because I care about you. It's because you're the mother of my woman. When I said that I wanted to end the marriage, I wasn't asking for your consent. I didn't use a question mark. Whatever I say, it's what it is. I don't need anyone's consent. Because you're Yonyan's mother, I won't kill you. But this guy has nothing to do with me. It'll be much easier for me to kill him than it was for Zheng Mao." Jiang Shan felt a chill run down her spine. When she saw the sharp gaze in Yang Cheng's eyes, she subconsciously believed Yang Cheng's words. He would really kill Yongye on the spot. Kai Yincheng also became nervous. He said solemnly, "Yang Cheng, don't be rash. Killing Yongye won't do you any good. General Kai, it's up to him whether to kill him or not." Yang Cheng sneered. He looked at Yongye and asked, "Hey, let me ask you one more time. Do you still want to take wedding photos and marry Kai Ning?" Yongye felt like his neck was going to snap if he continued to be strangled. He forced himself to take a few breaths. He didn't care about marriage anymore. His life was more important. He answered in a hoarse voice, No, I'm not getting married. Jiang Shan's face turned pale. She didn't expect Yongye to not even have the courage to resist. He directly pushed everything away. Although she knew Yongye wasn't a man of steel, she didn't expect a young man with the blood of the Li family to be this timid. Actually, she couldn't be too soft on Yongye. Everyone knew that the person who was strangling them was a demon with countless lives in his hands. Although Yongye stubbornly wanted Kai Ning, he didn't have much true love. If he could live, he could enjoy a lot of beautiful women. Why would he throw his life away? He wasn't stupid. Yang Cheng smiled in satisfaction. You should have cooperated from the start. Why did you have to make such a fuss? He then let go of Yongye. Yongye was as quiet as a cicada in winter now that he was free. He didn't dare to say anything else and ran out in a panic. He didn't even dare to look back. Jiang Shan wanted to ask Yongye to stop, but he didn't dare to stop no matter how much she shouted. Kai Yinqing sighed. Forget it. This marriage isn't reliable to begin with. Since Yongye said he doesn't want to get married, let's pretend it never happened. What do you mean it's not reliable? Jiang Shan screamed. What do you know? If Yongye doesn't marry Ning-Er, do you think you can save Ning-Er when the military corps finds out? Kai Yinqing didn't say anything. He looked at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng spread his hands. At most, I'll go strangle the judge next time and ask him to find Kai Ning innocent. It's not the first time I've done something like this. Do you think Beijing is your home? You should just wait for the Li family's revenge. If Yongye's cousin, Li Dun, comes, let's see how he'll deal with you. I heard that Li Dun has returned to Beijing. Jiang Shan was so angry that she clenched her teeth. Yang Cheng, don't blame us for being ruthless. You're just looking for trouble. Don't drag us down with you. Shut up, Kai Yinqing reprimanded. Since when did a woman like you have the right to make decisions for the Kai family? Do I have to rely on a weakling like you? Jiang Shan didn't budge an inch. Kai Ning saw that her parents were about to quarrel, but there was nothing she could do. She turned around and silently left the living room. Yang Chen couldn't help but feel sorry for Kai Ning. It was no wonder that Kai Ning grew up in such a family. Her father was a conservative, and her mother didn't know the truth. She could only take care of herself while sacrificing a lot, whether it was to help her father or to take care of her younger sister. Yang Cheng hesitated for a moment. He couldn't be bothered with the arguing couple in the living room anymore. He ran in the direction Kai Ning had left. He followed the corridor behind the living room and came to a small stone patio in the side courtyard. Kai Ning was standing under a parasol tree, looking up at the sky in a daze. Sunlight shone through the uneven branches and leaves, shining on Kai Ning's expressionless face. She looked like a white jade statue bathed in sunlight. An indescribable feeling filled Yang Cheng's heart. He stood behind the woman for a long time before asking, Are you all right? Kai Ning turned around and smiled in surprise. Why? Why didn't you let me go? Kai Ning tilted her head and asked again. Chapter 655. Yang Cheng blushed and stuttered. Didn't I just say that? I don't like it. Why don't you like it? Kai Ning probed. Yang Cheng didn't dare to look at Kai Ning's penetrating gaze. He rubbed his hands and said, I don't feel well. Kai Ning suddenly revealed a bright smile and turned around. Her shoulders were slightly shaking, and it was obvious that she was still secretly laughing. Yang Cheng couldn't take it anymore and said gloomily, What are you laughing at? Don't tell me you like it. I used to think that you were fearless and thick-skinned, but it turns out that you could be shy too, Kai Ning said leisurely. Now that I look at you, you look like a young man in his 20s. Young man? Yang Cheng's mouth twitched. Kai Ning turned around and looked at Yang Cheng's twisted expression. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. You should be around the same age as Yonyan, so you're younger than me. Can I call you that? Yang Cheng was quite distressed. It seemed that he was born too late. If he was in his 30s, he wouldn't be laughed at by older women. The two of them stood opposite each other quietly for a while. Kai Ning's gaze was gentle as she said, Actually, I felt uncomfortable too. I mean, I don't know when it started, but I also felt uncomfortable when I saw you with different women. Kai Ning's face couldn't help but turn red after she said this. Yang Chen gulped. He didn't know what to say. Worried? Distress? Fear? No, no. I'm clearly excited and happy. Kai Ning stroked the hair on her temples and continued. Do you remember that night when I was looking at the stars on the bridge in Zhonghai? Yangqing thought for a while and nodded. I remember. I was going home with Mingyu's family after dinner and bumped into you when I was driving across the bridge. I remember very clearly that you were thinking about something and were very focused. I called out to you, and you actually fell off the bridge. Fortunately, your qigong allowed you to fly back up. After that, I accompanied you to watch the stars for a while. Also, you didn't circulate your energy to resist the cold at that time. I'm still very curious even now. Kai Ning pursed her lips and smiled. Thank you for remembering it so clearly. By the way, I got it. You were so engrossed in looking at the stars that day because you knew that you would be summoned back to Beijing and punished because of me, right? Yang Cheng suddenly came to a realization. After that, there was no news of Kai Ning. His reaction was really slow. Kai Ning shook her head. It doesn't matter anymore. It's already in the past. I always feel like I owe you something, but you're right. The matter is over. If anyone comes to harass you again, I don't mind making a big deal out of it. Yang Cheng said seriously. Kai Ning chuckled and said, actually, during that period of time, I would often go out alone at night to look at the stars. I would also go in the winter. Yang Cheng was stunned. Then, you also don't circulate your energy to resist? In the winter in the south, it was inevitable that the temperature would be below zero at night. Moreover, they were on the bridge, which was filled with water vapor, and the temperature was exceptionally low. Yang Qing looked at Kai Ning in confusion. Did this woman really like the feeling of being frozen? Kai Ning lowered her eyebrows and said faintly, I don't know why either. Ever since you saved me at the back mountain of the Liu family, I would often think of your shadow. Although I could monitor you at any time and see you, I still couldn't control myself from thinking about you. But I knew that it wasn't right, but I couldn't control myself. Until one day, when I was walking alone at night, I raised my head and looked at the stars. Only then did I realize that when I looked at the night sky, I could calm down and think about other things. I didn't circulate my energy to resist the cold on the surface of the river because I hoped that in that kind of place, my body would become ice cold and the cold wind would cool my heart. Time became abnormally slow at this moment. Yang Qing didn't know what kind of feelings he had, but the needle-like pain in his heart made him not dare to easily open his mouth and say half a word. In his mind, the woman in front of him stood alone on the surface of the river, shivering in the cold wind, looking up at the back view of the starry sky. Yang Cheng knew that things like feelings weren't something that could be forgotten or abandoned just because you wanted to. It was the most difficult human instinct to understand. Perhaps you could restrain it, but you couldn't erase the pain it brought. Yang Cheng thought of the disgust and heartache he felt when he heard that Kai Ning was going to marry Yongyi. He finally realized that he didn't know when it started, but this woman who was originally sent to monitor him actually made him care a lot about her. Seeing that Yang Cheng didn't speak, Kai Ning didn't have any intention of stopping. She laughed self-deprecatingly and said, Every time I see you with another woman, I'll warn myself again and again that you're a terrible man. It's better not to be silly. Especially that time, you actually caused Yonyan to be so disheartened that she had to participate in the Wild Dragon Reserve team selection. I really hate you to death. Why can you be so tolerant towards Mo, Qianni, Jiangwei, and those other girls but not accept Yonyan? You have to know, she's my only sister. Luckily, nothing happened to Yonyan, and she ended up with you in the end. When Yonyan told me about it excitedly, I was very happy, but also a little uncomfortable. It's true. Actually, Yang Cheng wanted to explain what happened with Choi Yun back then. Don't speak. Kai Ning interrupted him. Let me finish. Yang Cheng was silent and nodded. Actually, I also know that you're not the kind of person who will fall in love as long as it's a beauty. I also know that the women around you have all had unusual experiences with you. It's just that there's always a knot in my heart. But even so, I'm just an outsider, so I hid it in my heart and never said it out loud. This time, my parents were very worried. In the end, my mother begged the Li family to let me marry Yongyi. At that time, I thought if I get married, then so be it. Although Yongyi isn't much, he won't be able to bully me. In the future, we'll all be busy with our own things, and it'll just be one more certificate. At least that way, I won't let my imagination run wild about you, and I can also let Mom and Dad on Sheen. Kai Ning took a deep breath, and her eyes were slightly red. She smiled sadly and said, "But now I realize that things aren't like that at all. Today, when I saw you and Yonyan coming home, I felt like my heart was being torn apart. Although I feel very happy for Yonyan, I really can't control myself. Do you know, Yangcheng?" Kai Ning's eyes were sparkling as she said, "Our family only has the two of us. The other uncles all want to replace my father's position. Since I was young, I knew that Dad was actually under a lot of pressure. So, not only did I want to be an elder sister, I also wanted to help Dad share his worries. So, I wanted to do everything to the best of my ability, whether it was in my studies or anything else. Later on, when I was in my teens, I quickly agreed to go to the Tang sect in Sichuan to learn martial arts. Although I knew that if I did that, I wouldn't have the chance to go home for almost 10 years, and I would need to live alone. But I never regretted it, because only when I fought and suffered could our family have a stable foothold. Then, Yonyan could do the work that she likes and could be like the other young ladies, falling in love and getting married." Kai Ning bit her lips and said, "I always thought that I would live like that for the rest of my life. But just now, Yonyan suddenly asked me, I've always lived for others. Can't I live for myself for once in this lifetime?" Yang Cheng stood stiffly on the spot, unable to extricate himself from looking at Kai Ning, who had never been so weak before. Kai Ning wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and smiled brightly. "So, I was willful for once. So, I want to try living for myself for once. Do you think there will be a good ending?" Yang Cheng didn't say anything. He strode to Kai Ning, opened his arms, and pulled her into his embrace. "This is not a question, because other than a happy ending, there won't be any other options," Yang Cheng whispered into the woman's ear. Kai Ning's body stiffened for a moment, then slowly softened. She awkwardly wrapped her arms around Yang Cheng's waist, trembling as she hugged him. Feeling the warm breath beside her ear, her tears uncontrollably soaked Yang Cheng's chest. Clang! The sound of pottery colliding broke the silence at this moment. Yang Cheng and Kai Ning quickly turned their heads, because the two of them were so focused on each other that they didn't notice someone approaching. At this moment, they happened to see a flustered and bewildered Choi Yun looking at the two of them, not knowing whether to leave or stay. And under Choi Yun's feet was a small flower pot, because she wasn't paying attention just now. Yonyan, Kai Ning's pretty face turned pale, and she immediately let go of Yang Cheng's hand. She struggled free, her eyes wandering uneasily. Choi Yun forced a smile, looked at her sister, and then looked at Yang Cheng affectionately, and said, "Actually, it's nothing, you two like each other, I can tell." Yang Cheng felt very bitter in his mouth. He had always thought that if he could have a pair of beautiful sisters, it would be a very enjoyable thing. But now that it seemed to be right in front of him, he realized that when you invested your true feelings, even if the two women were biological sisters, it wasn't an easy thing. Yang Cheng felt that he was at a loss for words. Although it wasn't the first time he was fickle, it made him very embarrassed every time. Choi Yun had tears in her eyes. It was unknown whether she was happy or sad, but she smiled and shook her head, saying, "You don't need to say sorry because love doesn't need to say sorry." Chapter 656. People often say that fortune and misfortune go hand in hand. Although Yang Cheng didn't think his situation was bad enough, fortune was inevitable. After he stood with the two sisters for a long time and couldn't speak, Choi Yun suddenly wiped her tears and forcefully pushed herself out of the house. In the end, Choi Yun rolled her eyes at him with shame and said, "You got lucky. I have something to say to my sister. You better stay away from me. I don't want to see you." Yang Cheng was dumbfounded. What was going on? That was it. However, Yang Cheng felt that this was a good idea. It was better for him to slip away. Since the matter had been exposed and he was already hugging Kai Ning, it wasn't appropriate for him to run away. No matter what the two sisters were talking about, he just needed to ensure Kai Ning's safety. Therefore, not long after, in the living room of the Kai family, Yang Cheng was lying on the sofa and watching the afternoon news with Kai Yunqing while drinking Malfong tea. But obviously, compared to Yang Cheng's happy mood, Kai Yunqing had a lot on his mind. The TV was broadcasting the hottest topic in the South China Sea. The conflict between country F and Huaxia continued to escalate. As an important military figure, Kai Yunqing should be paying more attention. But at this moment, Kai Yunqing's mind was completely elsewhere. He didn't even drink half a sip from the teacup in his hand. Not long after, the news finished and the commercial began. Kai Yunqing suddenly let out a sigh and said, "I really don't know if I should say hello or curse at you." Yang Cheng rubbed his nose and said with a smile, "Although I'm not a good son-in-law, I'm still useful compared to Yongyi. What do you think, Lao Kai?" Kai Yunqing looked at this guy's shameless expression as if he was saying, "Your daughters belong to me." He couldn't help but smile bitterly. As long as Kai Ning and Choi Yun could be happy, it was fine. Born in such a big family and had the identity of the general of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, Kai Yunqing didn't expect his daughters to live a normal life. At the very least, Yang Cheng's strength and identity were enough to handle the situation, so Kai Yunqing didn't have much to complain about. But thinking about his wife, Jiang Shan, who was still in a state of anger, he couldn't relax. Just then, a servant suddenly rushed into the living room and said anxiously, "Master, not good. Li Xian and Guiyali are here." Kai Yunqing's expression tightened. He stood up and frowned. So fast. Yang Chen found the name Li Xian rather familiar. He asked, "Are they Yongye's parents?" "Yes," Kai Yunqing said helplessly. "You've humiliated Yongyi, and he's not a generous person. To him, it's like you stole his wife. Plus, he can't hide it from his parents, so he'll definitely go back and complain. Let's do it. Let's see what else they can do." Yang Chan waved his hand. Kai Yunqing gritted his teeth. "Easy for you. Li Xian and Guiyali are the direct descendants of the Li and Guo clans, and they're both ministers. They're not easy to deal with. You." Sigh. Kai Yunqing suddenly paused, as if he remembered something. He hesitated and pondered. Yang Cheng saw that Kai Yunqing was mumbling, but he didn't care. A middle-aged man wearing a striped shirt and a middle-aged woman wearing a pair of black-rimmed glasses walked in together. Both of them looked gloomy. When they saw Kai Yunqing and Yang Cheng, their eyes looked like they were about to spit fire. "General Kai, your Kai clan is so arrogant," Li Xian said angrily. "What do you think my son is? You think he can come and go at your beck and call?" Kai Yunqing smiled bitterly. "Brotherly, calm down. It's not that simple. My clan doesn't mean to look down on Yongyi. Oof. My son told me everything. Our Li clan doesn't dare to accept a daughter who hooks up with another man. But Kai Yunqing, you've crossed the line. We were kind enough to help your daughter, and that's why we proposed a marriage alliance. But you're biting the hand that fed you. You even let this bastard hurt my son. Guiyali, will not let this go. Your daughter will be sentenced in the military court." Guiyali cursed and almost spat on Kai Yunqing's face. Kai Yunqing quickly comforted her. "Sister-in-law, calm down. It's not as simple as you think. We really didn't mean to offend you. Besides, we're all on the same side. There's no need to fight over such a small matter." "On the same side?" Guiyali sneered. "How dare you say that? I think your Kai clan is treating this kid who came out of nowhere as one of your own. Let's settle this matter today. Not only will your daughter's appeal continue, but we'll also sue this kid for beating up our son." Yang Cheng looked at the aggressive couple and couldn't be bothered to say anything. He yawned and sat back on the sofa. This action made Li Xian and his wife even more furious. "Fine. What a bastard. Does he really think he's some big shot? Do you think you'll be fine with the Kai clan protecting you? The Kai clan can't even protect themselves." Guiyali laughed and said to her husband, "Let's go back. We'll leave the Kai clan alone. Let's see how long they can last." Kai Yunqing hurriedly blocked their way and sighed. "Sister-in-law, I'll just call you Minister Guo. Do you know what the name of this Brit you keep calling a bastard is? What does his name have to do with us?" Li Xian said disdainfully. Kai Yunqing clicked his tongue. His surname is Yang Cheng. Li Xian was fine with this, but Guiyali was dumbfounded. She stood there with her eyes wide open, as if she couldn't believe it. Li Xian sensed that something was wrong and turned to his wife. Yali, what's wrong? Gui Yali's eyes showed a trace of panic. She turned her head again and carefully looked at Yang Cheng's face. Finally, she recognized something. You, your sister Shuahua's son? Gui Yali asked tentatively. Yang Chen finally thought of something and looked at Gui Yali in confusion. Sister Shuahua? Is she calling me mother? Right? Isn't this woman's surname Gua? Could it be? Yang Cheng understood something, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he stood up and said to the door, You're here just in time. If you didn't come to me, I would have gone to you to ask some questions. The three of them looked out in confusion. There was no one outside the front door of the living room. Just when the three of them thought that Yang Cheng had gone crazy, an elderly figure appeared at the door in a blink of an eye. She wore a plain cotton robe, and her gray hair was tied up in a bun. Her face was wrinkled, but she had a warm smile on her face. This old lady was Yang Gongmin's servant, Yin Sanyang. Yin Sanyang's appearance was very strange. The helper outside did not come to report to them. It was obvious that she didn't enter from the main door. She managed to fool everyone except for Yang Cheng. Kai Yunqing furrowed his brows. He seemed to have seen this old lady before. Li Xian and Gui Yali obviously recognized her. They walked up to her and greeted her awkwardly. Aunt Yin, why are you here? Gui Yali asked warmly with a fawning smile. Yin Sanyang smiled at Kai Yunqing politely as a form of greeting to the host. She then said, Miss Yali, you're right. Yang Cheng is the eldest grandson of the Yang family who was accidentally lost. He's also your cousin's biological son. Although Gui Yali had already guessed what Kai Yunqing meant, she was still dumbfounded when she heard it for herself. Li Xian suddenly came to his senses. He looked at Yang Cheng in disbelief. His eyes were filled with regret. Yang Cheng touched his forehead gloomily. All right, so this Gui Yali is my mother's cousin. But thinking about it carefully, it's easy to understand his mother went to school with Premier Ning Guangyao and married into the Yang family. The Gua family must have a high social status. Although his cousin Gui Yali wasn't as good, she was married to a direct descendant of the Li family. However, wouldn't this mean that he was Yong Ye's cousin? Not only did Yuan Yi appear out of nowhere, but now there's Yong Yi. Yang Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Gui Yali sorted out her thoughts and came back to her senses. She said to Yang Cheng with a flattering tone, Seriously, so we're really a family. Since your sister Shuahua's son, I'm your aunt. Why didn't you say so earlier? Since that's the case, there's nothing else. Aunt. Yang Cheng didn't want to reject this woman's request. After all, she was Gua Shuahua's sister. He smiled. Yes, I heard that the Yang family found you, but I didn't have the chance to meet you. It's really fate. Since you're our nephew, then it's like a flood against the temple of the Dragon King. Miss Kai Ning has good taste. Yang Cheng, you're much more dependable than our Yong Yi. Li Xian praised him, but his smile was as stiff as a rock. Li Xian also realized the seriousness of the problem. Although the Li family wasn't afraid of the Yang family, he was just a direct descendant of the Li family. If he got into a conflict with the eldest grandson of the Yang family, because of him, the Li family wouldn't fall out with the Yang family because of him. Moreover, the couple had heard that Yang Gongming from the Yang family had gone to Jiangnan to meet his long-lost grandson, and Gui Shuahua had moved to Zhonghai. With that, Yang Cheng's status had risen to a level that they didn't dare to provoke. Because the couple were only in politics, they didn't know much about Yang Cheng's background. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come to their son's aid just because of Yong Ye's simple complaint. If you're done, can you leave now? Yang Cheng couldn't take it anymore when he saw the couple's ugly smiles. Li Xian and his wife were embarrassed, but they knew they couldn't stay any longer. After bidding farewell to Kai Yunqing, they bid farewell to Yin Sanyang. They knew that Yin Sanyang, who was always by Yang Gongmin's side, had a higher status than Yang Pejuan in the Yang family, so they didn't dare to slight her. After the couple left, Kai Yunqing looked at Yin Sanyang. Ever since he took over the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, he had learned a lot about all kinds of strange people. He was sure that the old man in front of him wasn't just an ordinary expert. He asked hesitantly, Elder, are you from the Yang family? Chapter 657. Yin Sanyang chuckled. I'm from the Yang family. I hope Lord Kai won't blame me for my sudden arrival. My master has something he wanted to say to young Master Chen earlier, but he couldn't find the right time to do so. Now that Miss Yali and her husband are here, it's inevitable that there will be some misunderstandings. I'm here as a mediator to clarify our relationship and save us some trouble. Kai Yunqing revealed a smile of understanding on his face, but his heart was filled with shock. There was a hidden expert by Yang Gongming's side. Furthermore, the Yang family was clearly aware of the happenings in the Kai family, or rather, the happenings around Yangcheng like the back of their hands. Even though Kai Yunqing knew that the four major clans wouldn't resort to such underhanded methods, he, as the general of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, couldn't believe that the low-profile Yang Gongming had such a terrifying information network. At the end of the day, even the Security Bureau was only half of the Li family's private property. The Yang family, which was on par with the Li family, couldn't possibly be any weaker. Kai Yunqing was indeed a little too naive. He recalled that Gui Yali was from the Guo family, which meant that Yang Cheng's mother, Guo Xiuehua, was probably her sister. Based on this relationship, they should be able to identify Yang Cheng's true identity. However, he didn't expect the Yang family to send an unknown expert over. Kai Yunqing quickly sorted out his thoughts and said, "Since Elder Yang wants to say something to Yang Cheng, it's not a big deal. It's the Kai family's honor to have Elder Yang here. Please do as you please. I'll get someone to serve you some tea. I'll take my leave first. There's no need to trouble yourself." Yin Sanyang stopped Kai Yunqing from leaving. She turned to Yang Cheng and smiled. Young Master Chen, a scholar who has been away for 3 days, must be looked at in a new light. I didn't expect young Master Chen to actually take that step. This isn't a good place to talk. Let's talk outside, Yang Cheng said. Of course. Yin Sanyang disappeared from the living room as soon as she finished speaking. Kai Yunqing was dumbfounded, as if he had seen a ghost. When he was about to ask Yang Cheng where she had gone, he was shocked to find that Yang Cheng had also disappeared. Located in the center of Yin Jing City, at the side of a pavilion on a small hill about 10 kilometers away, there was not a single shadow of a person. Suddenly, 2 figures, one old and one young, appeared in the middle of the pavilion. It was Yang Cheng and Yin Sanyang, who had disappeared from the Kai residence. Yin Sanyang's squinted eyes were filled with admiration and gratification. As far as I know, very few geniuses have managed to break through the Khanate full cycle stage at young Master Chen's age. Even this old woman is envious of young Master Chen's cultivation talent and comprehension. Yang Cheng scratched the back of his head and smiled. I don't know what realm I've reached. In short, there are many things that I didn't know before, but I've learned them naturally. When I saw how you arrived at the Kai residence, I understood a lot of things, and naturally I did the same thing. It's just like what you said, Granny Yin. These things can only be understood, not explained. Yin Sanyang nodded. That's right. That's why young Master Chen's achievements are so precious. I've only given you some pointers that aren't really pointers. The biggest reason why young Master Chen was able to break through was because of his comprehension of the heavenly Tao. Yang Cheng asked curiously, "Now, can Granny Yin see through my cultivation?" Yin Sanyang shook her head and smiled. At this realm, everyone has entered the same realm. It's not just me, but everyone in Hongming can no longer see through young Master Chen's cultivation. Everyone has the same level of strength, and no one can do anything to the other. If you want to see through each other's realm, you have to break through to the legendary realm. Yang Cheng nodded thoughtfully and asked, I still don't know what my current realm is called. And what is the legendary realm? Yin Sanyang looked at the horizon for a while and said softly, in fact, the realm that we and the people of Hongmeng are in is a realm that transcends the limits of mortals. In this realm, it can be said that it's beyond the 3 realms and the 5 elements. Young Master Chen should have experienced this before. When one reaches the Xiantian full cycle, one's vital qi can already break through the restraints of space and cannot be affected by the laws of space. That's because the vital qi at the Xiantian full cycle already has some characteristics that are on the verge of breaking through. This characteristic has already surpassed the laws of parallel space and is a higher level of power that is closer to the origin of the universe. When the cultivators of Hua, Xia break through to the Xiantian full cycle, they are no longer in the realm of mortals. There was no standard name for this stage because everyone comprehended different Tao. Therefore, some people would think that this was the cocoon-breaking stage of metamorphosis into a butterfly. Some people would think that it was the tribulation stage of transcending the tribulation and ascending. Some people would think that this was the process of continuously strengthening one's 3 souls and 7 spirits, and it was an inevitable process of breaking through to a higher level. All in all, these are just names for the sake of convenience, and there is no definite conclusion. Since ancient times, when one breaks through to this realm, he would be an immortal who ascends to the 9 heavens, and those predecessors have already disappeared from Earth. Yang Cheng was stunned. Disappeared? Where do they go? That's not something I can figure out. Yin Sanyang sighed. I've been stuck in this realm for more than 10 years, but I've never been able to touch the door of the legendary Tao. It's no wonder. It's said that after the ancient times, there were only a few experts who reached that realm, and in the past few hundred years, no one has succeeded. My aptitude isn't outstanding, and I don't think there's any hope for me in this life. Yang Qing thought for a while, then said, Granny Yin, you mentioned that the people of Hongmeng are also at this realm. Does that mean that it's similar to the situation between the main gods, where everyone uses the laws of space, and no one could do anything to the other? Yin Sanyang shook her head. Not all of them. The reason why the Western main gods can't really kill each other is because they can use the parallel space to be reborn. As for the people of Hongmeng, or should I say, all the cultivators of our realm, although it's difficult to determine the winner in a one-on-one fight, if they gang up on one person, they can definitely turn that person into dust. After all, we don't have the ability to reincarnate like the main gods. However, young Master Chun is an exception. Not only have you learned the skills of the main gods, but you've also reached this realm. I believe that young Master Chun is stronger than most of the people in Hongmeng now. Yang Cheng smiled in satisfaction. Granny Yin, there's one more thing I'd like to ask you. Yin Sanyang smiled helplessly. Young Master Chun, if it's about cultivation, then forget it. Sanyang really has nothing to say to young Master Chun, because young Master Chen's realm is also Sanyang's realm. Everything Sanyang knows, young Master Chen knows. Who has nothing better to do than to think about cultivation all day. Yang Cheng raised his eyebrows, a little nervous. I want to ask about childbirth. Even though Yin Sanyang had experienced all kinds of vicissitudes of life, she almost fell to the ground. Childbirth. Yang Cheng said embarrassedly, Granny Yin, in the past, I planned to stay single for the rest of my life. But now I have a wife, a lot of lovers, and a family. Even if I can accept it, women will always want children. But I'm not sure if it's because I've been shown on by the divine light in the past. Why haven't any of my women become pregnant? There was a woman who was pregnant with my child, but I didn't cherish her. But now I really want to know why. Do you have any experience in this area? Yin Sanyang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Her wrinkled face said helplessly, Young Master Chun, actually this is something that I've always been worried about. Yang Cheng cried. Could it be that Granny Yin has noticed that I have a chronic illness? Yin Sanyang quickly shook her head. It's not a chronic illness, it's just too strong. Too strong? Yang Cheng frowned. That's right. Yin Sanyang sighed. Young Master Chun, to be honest, you should know how strong your body is now. Not to mention you, young Master Chun. The physical strength of every cultivator who has reached this stage is already beyond the imagination of mortals. Even if Mount Tai falls on us, or if the sky falls and the earth shatters, we might not be able to suffer any real harm. In that case, according to what people call science now, our genes have already far surpassed that of ordinary humans. If young Master Chun had a child with an ordinary woman, then the child would have at least half of young Master Chen's genes. Young Master Chun, can you imagine that a newborn child's body would be half as strong as yours? Yang Cheng suddenly came to a realization. He hesitated for a moment, then said, So, This is also a law of nature. That's right, you can think of it that way, Yin Sanyang said seriously. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a law of nature. The stronger young Master Chen's genes are, the lower the chances of him successfully mating with an ordinary woman. This is because even though young Master Chen is human, he has already surpassed the limits of a human. Think about it. How could it be so easy for a non-human to mate with a human and give birth to a child? So, when young Master Chen wasn't as strong as he is now, it's understandable for him to get a woman pregnant. Yang Cheng scratched his head in pain. If I had known this would happen, I would have delayed the thought of raising my cultivation. What should I do? Yin Sanyang smiled. Actually, it's not completely hopeless. As long as young Master Chen improves the physical qualities of those women as much as possible in the days to come, and works hard at farming, then even if the chances are small, you can still have children. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the legendary story of those gods and mortals giving birth to children. Works hard at farming. Yang Cheng laughed mischievously. Grandma Yin was a clever person. She could even come up with such words. Other things were troublesome, but the more troublesome this was, the better. However, this also reminded Yang Cheng of a problem. He had indeed surpassed the limits of a human. Taking his lifespan as an example, it wouldn't be a problem for him to live up to a few hundred years. He really had to think of a way to extend the lives of those he treasured, or help them cultivate. However, these things had to be carefully thought through and could not be rushed. Yin Sanyang looked at the strange smile on Yang Cheng's face from time to time and seemed to be at her wit's end. She smiled bitterly and shook her head. Young Master Chen, if there are no other questions, I still have something that old master has instructed me to give to you. Yang Cheng's thoughts returned to the present. He hesitated for a moment, then asked, "What is it?" "It's a scroll of brush and ink." Yin Sanyang took out a long scroll of calligraphy from her sleeve and handed it to Yang Cheng. She smiled warmly. "Young Master Chen, I'm sure you've experienced the benefits of being the eldest grandson of the Yang family. I feel that since young Master Chen is no longer a person of the secular world, there's no need for you to be too hung up on the shadows of the past. It's more important to let yourself and the people around you live comfortably." Seeing that Yang Cheng was standing there without any intention to speak, Yin Sanyang didn't force him. She bowed and disappeared once again. Yang Cheng stood there for a long time. He took a deep breath and slowly opened the scroll in his hand. On the snow-white scroll, there were a few vigorous calligraphy strokes. 2 lines of easy-to-understand poetry were written on it. "The flower path is never swept by a fated guest. The door opens for you today." Chapter 658. These 2 lines came from Du Fu's poem, The Arrival of a Guest. Although Yang Cheng had never been to school, he had a photographic memory, which allowed him to easily remember all the information he had collected over the years. The gist of it was that the owner had never swept the flower path for a guest, but today he did it for you. The wooden door had never been opened for a guest, but today he opened it for you. The implication was self-evident. Yang Gongming was expressing his sincerity and hoped that he would return to his roots. It wasn't that Yang Cheng didn't think of the benefits of returning to the Yang family, but he would have to face Yang Pejuan and Yang Lai once he returned to the Yang family. Yang Cheng wasn't so shameless as to build a good relationship with them. If it wasn't for Guo Xiuhua and Yang Gongming stopping him, or if it was Yin Sanyang, Yang Cheng couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't have killed them. Yang Cheng suddenly missed Lin Ruoxi, who was far away in Zhonghai. Little sister Lin was always there to remind him about family matters. Unfortunately, she wasn't by his side. Alone in the pavilion, Yang Cheng stared at the 2 lines of the poem for a long time. Yang Cheng put away the scroll in his hand and slowly descended the mountain. He found a bus to enter the city, and then called a taxi to return to the Kai residence. Although he could return to the Kai family in the blink of an eye if he used his cultivation, Yang Cheng didn't want to do so. He wasn't in a hurry, and he didn't want to keep appearing like a ghost. He believed that if Yin Sanyang didn't have to hurry to the Kai family to prove Yang Cheng's identity, she would have taken the normal route. Living in a society of ordinary people, Yang Cheng didn't think teleportation was something worth bragging about. Instead, it would cause him to lose the taste of life. Just like a super rich man, he wouldn't be satisfied until his clothes were worth hundreds of millions. That was just something a nouveau riche would do. By the time he returned to the Kai family, it was already evening. Under the setting sun, the Kai family's courtyard was dyed red. When Yang Cheng walked into the living room, he saw his mother-in-law, Jiang Shan, and Kai Yunqing discussing something on the sofa. He scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Just being with Choi Yun was enough to make her fly into a rage. Now that Kai Ning was with him, his mother wouldn't chase after him with a kitchen knife, would she? "Io, Yangshan, what took you so long? I was worried about where you went." Jiang Shan suddenly stood up with a radiant smile on her face and cheerfully walked up to Yang Cheng. She looked at Yang Cheng with a face full of joy and said, "Don't tell me you're still angry at Annie? At most, Annie will make you some delicious food to accompany you. We're a family, and you're a man, so don't be too petty." Yang Cheng was dumbfounded. It was as if he had swallowed a fly. After a long time, he slapped his face to confirm that he wasn't dreaming. Then he smiled and said, "Andy, what's wrong?" Jiang Shan suddenly rolled her eyes at him. "What's wrong? Who asked you to treat yourself as an outsider and not explain the situation? I was just complaining that you didn't treat us as a family." Yang Cheng was even more confused. Jiang Shan ignored his confusion and said with a smile, "Look at your silly face. You look quite honest. Although you're a bit fickle, you're still an honest child. As the mother of Ning Er and Yonyan, I agree. But you have to treat them well. Don't mistreat my daughters, understand?" Yang Cheng's jaw dropped. To be honest, even if Ares, the animal that only knew how to fight, came to him and said that he wanted to turn over a new leaf, Yang Cheng wouldn't be so surprised. Jiang Shan seemed to like Yang Cheng more and more. In the end, she even patted Yang Cheng's shoulder like an elder and said, "I'll go make dinner. I'll make something delicious for you guys. You can accompany your uncle for a while. Haha." Watching Jiang Shan leave, Yang Cheng's legs nearly gave way. Kai Yunqing helplessly watched his wife walk to the kitchen and shook his head. Then, he saw Yang Cheng's blank face and sighed. "Are you so happy that you've turned silly, or are you scared silly?" Yang Cheng swallowed his saliva. "Both. Don't be surprised. When you went out just now, Li Xian and his wife came back and bumped into your Annie. They said that the engagement was canceled and that the military court would be settled. They wouldn't let Ning Er feel the slightest burden. They also said that the relationship between the two families should be closer in the future. Your Annie became like this because she knew about your identity in the Yang family. Sigh, I couldn't tell when I was young. Now, I can only regret marrying such a woman." Kai Yunqing's face was filled with regret. Yang Cheng rolled his eyes. Is the identity of a Yang family really that useful? Of course. Kai Yunqing seemed to have found an opportunity and added fuel to the fire. You left Huaxia when you were young, so you don't know the influence of the four major families. In Beijing, anyone who is related to the four major families is not someone that ordinary people can afford to offend. Just look at the standing committee of the Politburo. Apart from the General Secretary, who has always been impartial and won't let anyone from the four major families take the position, all of them are affiliated with one of the major families. It can be said that most of the major decisions in Huaxia are made by the four major families. Although your auntie is a woman, she was born and raised in Beijing. She knows that if you are the eldest grandson of the Yang family and inherit the Yang family in the future, you will have a lot of power. Furthermore, it's not a secret for someone standing at the top of the pyramid to have a few wives and concubines. After all, the Yang family has the smallest number of people, so they have always hoped to expand their family. Yang Cheng rubbed his nose. He had to admit that just the benefits of being able to relax his love life made him very tempted. It seemed that he really had to find an opportunity to return to the Yang family. As for how Kai Ning's matter was resolved so easily, he was also surprised. However, it was still a good thing that he didn't have to do anything. Just when Yang Cheng was about to sit down and chat with Kai Yunqing, he saw Kai Ning and Choi Yun walking out from the back. Looking at how close the two sisters were, Yang Cheng heaved a sigh of relief. Choi Yun didn't restrain herself because of her father's presence. When she saw Yang Cheng, she immediately sat on Yang Cheng's lap and hooked her arms around Yang Cheng's neck. She smiled coquettishly. Pervert, let's go out for dinner. Yang Cheng looked awkwardly at Kai Yunqing, who was frowning, and then at Kai Ning, who was standing by the side with a smile. Can't you be more reserved? I'm getting shy if you keep acting like this. Also, your mom is going to cook. Why are we going out? It's such a joyous day today. Of course we have to go and celebrate. Don't tell me that you're so pitiful that you don't even have money in your wallet for dinner. It's fine, I'll pay for it. Choi Yun stood up unwillingly and dragged Yang Cheng out of the door. Yang Cheng couldn't dissuade this devil queen, so he turned around and asked Kai Ning, You're going too? Kai Ning nodded. Yeah, Yonyan said that she's going to celebrate me getting over the crisis. Yang Cheng suddenly understood. That's a good reason. Kai Yunqing coughed and said to Choi Yun sternly, Just go out for dinner. Don't cause trouble the moment you return to Beijing. Choi Yun made a face at her father. It's rare for me to return to Beijing. What trouble can I cause? Kai Yunqing looked like he was powerless to discipline his daughter, so he waved his hand dejectedly, not stopping them. The three of them went out and got into Yang Cheng's car. Choi Yun scrambled to sit in the front passenger seat and said before buckling her seatbelt, Search on the GPS, go to Sky Tower. Sky Tower? What kind of place is that? Yang Cheng asked in confusion. A place to eat? What kind of dishes? Choi Yun smiled innocently. It's a place where you can eat and drink, sing and dance. Yang Cheng suddenly understood and rolled his eyes. A nightclub? Yeah, it should be a high-class club, but you can't enter without a membership card, Choi Yun said proudly. Yang Cheng said gloomily, Then why did you lie to me that you're going to eat? Are you stupid? I can't be bothered to lie to you. If I said we're going to a nightclub, my dad definitely wouldn't let us. And my dad doesn't like girls to drink, Choi Yun said bashfully. Yang Cheng felt that maybe Choi Yun shouldn't be Kai Ning's sister, but Tang Tang. But thinking about it carefully, he didn't have anything special to deal with the Tang family's Tang Wan, and Kai Ning's matter had been resolved perfectly. Hui Lin had also visited him, so it was about time for him to return to Zhonghai. Before leaving Beijing, he might as well take it as a break. On the way there, Yang Cheng asked curiously, What did you two talk about the whole afternoon? Choi Yun smiled. Do you want to know? Yang Cheng nodded vigorously. I'm not telling you. Choi Yun wrinkled her nose. Yang Cheng was embarrassed, so he turned around and signaled Kai Ning with his eyes. If the younger sister doesn't want to tell, the older sister will. Unexpectedly, Kai Ning looked out of the car window and didn't even look at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng suddenly became worried. Were these two sisters plotting against him in the future? It seemed like he had to make the first move and find a chance to drag them to bed together. Just like that, the three of them followed the GPS and arrived at the spacious parking lot in front of the Sky Tower. It was impossible to open a nightclub in Beijing without a strong relationship with the higher-ups. Just the parking lot alone was expensive, so one could imagine how luxurious it would be. The car drove directly to the entrance of the nightclub, and a waiter opened the door and helped them park the car. Choi Yun seemed to be a frequent visitor, so she casually gave the waiter a 100 yuan tip. Yang Cheng chuckled. Tell me the truth. Director Kai has been embezzling a lot of money, right? Choi Yun went up to hold Yang Cheng's arm and said innocently, Dear, won't you reimburse me for all the money I spend? I'm already yours, so it's not too much, right? Yang Cheng's facial muscles twitched. He looked at Kai Ning, who seemed to be trying to hold back her laughter, and said, Ning Er, why don't you hold my other arm? It's the same money anyway. Kai Ning couldn't bring herself to do such an intimate gesture, so she pursed her lips and walked through the door. Unexpectedly, before she could take 2 steps, a man's voice came from behind. Wait, let me follow you in. Hearing this familiar voice, Yang Cheng felt a headache coming on. He turned around and said, Why are you so persistent? The man was Li Dun, dressed in a casual shirt. He didn't look like a high-class guy, but he was as energetic as ever. He smiled foolishly and said, I just went to the Kai residence to look for you. I wanted to drink with you tonight, but you just happened to come out, so I chased after you. This Sky Cloud restaurant is so high class that I have to save my pocket money to chase after Tang Xin. Since someone is treating me, of course I have to follow. Yang Cheng had seen through Li Dun's miserly ways, so he ignored him. Choi Yun, however, recognized Li Dun. She snorted, "Young Masterly, if you want to eat, drink, and have fun, you can sign up for free. Why do you have to freeload off our Yang Cheng's hard-earned money?" Yang Cheng almost fell to the ground. "Great, now my money has become hard-earned money." Li Dun was thick-skinned and didn't react at all. "I heard that Sister Kai Ning managed to get rid of my good-for-nothing cousin and got married again. Of course, I have to come to celebrate the wedding." Looking at him, he seemed to be on Kai Ning's side instead of her cousin. Kai Ning was embarrassed by his words, and her calm face blushed. After entering the building, they followed Choi Yun's instructions and went straight to the largest dance hall downstairs. They wanted to find a place to enjoy the music and dance. Kai Ning obviously wouldn't go down to dance, but she would often go to such places when she was on a mission, so she didn't feel uncomfortable. When the four of them walked around the dance floor and arrived at a moon-white sofa, many men and women looked at them strangely. The biggest reason was naturally because of the Kai sisters' good looks. Even in a high-class clubhouse full of beautiful women, they still seemed to stand out. But when some of the higher-ups realized that the man behind them was Li Dun, who rarely appeared in Yanjin, they stopped paying attention to the beauties. There were many people from the four major families, but they didn't have many chances to meet the young master. Many of them even started rubbing their palms, trying to find a chance to get close to him without making him unhappy. As for Yang Cheng, everyone was unfamiliar with him, so they guessed that he might be a friend of the Li family from another province. As soon as the four of them sat down, Kai Yin ordered a large amount of food and drinks. Then, she impatiently ran to the dance floor and moved her body along with some young men and women. She seemed extremely excited. Seeing that Yang Cheng was in a daze, Kai Ning smiled and said, "You should know that Yonyan is very active, but when she was in Zhonghai, she was the police chief, so she couldn't go to nightclubs. She was afraid that people would say bad things about her, so she endured it. Every time she came back to Yanjin, she would find time to go to nightclubs." Yang Cheng was stunned for a moment. Then he let Choi Yun do as she pleased. Looking at the table full of drinks, desserts, and fruits, Yang Cheng rubbed his empty stomach and started eating. He poured himself a full glass of whiskey and even asked the waiter for a steak. The revelry in his ears didn't affect his mood at all. Kai Ning quietly ate the grapes, not saying a word or going down to play. Kai Ning silently ate the grapes in small bites. She didn't say anything, nor did she go down to play. It was as if she was in another world. Yang Cheng chewed on the cake, looked at the woman for a while, and said, "Ning Er, go down and play with your sister. What's the point of watching us eat here?" "I don't know how to," Kai Ning said, shaking her head. "What's there to know? She's just randomly twisting her buttocks. Look at Yin Yin's movements. She's just like a stupid bear. At least you're well-versed in Qigong. Even a few random movements would look better than hers," Yang Chen said with a smile. Kai Ning still shook her head, looking calm and relaxed. Yang Cheng sighed. "Actually, I've been wanting to say that I'm already a prematurely aging person. But why do you look older than me? You're like an old granny. If you continue like this, you'll be completely outshone by your sister." Kai Ning asked doubtfully, "Why would I be outshone by Yonyan?" "TSK. Yang Cheng said with a smile. "Speaking of this, you're quite confident. Isn't that so? Am I uglier than Yonyan and not as good-looking as her?" Kai Ning looked a little unhappy. Obviously, she wasn't happy that Yang Cheng said she wasn't as good as Choi Yun, even if it was her own sister. Yang Cheng said, "At least there's one thing that Yonyan is good at, but you don't know it at all." "What is it?" Kai Ning asked, blinking. Evenly Done, who was chewing on his steak, looked up curiously, licked his lips, and looked at Yang Cheng, wanting to listen. Yang Cheng put down the thing in his hand, moved closer to Kai Ning's ear, and said softly, "Baby, do you know how to act coquettishly?" Chapter 659. Coquettish. Kai Ning's eyes widened, and she forgot to breathe. She swore that ever since she was young, she had never thought that this word had anything to do with her. "You're doing this on purpose, shameless." Kai Ning gritted her teeth and glared at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng chuckled. "How is this shameless? Look at how fierce Yonyan is when she's a policewoman. But she still holds my hand, pouts, and asks me for money. Li Dun, who was chewing on his steak, laughed and clapped his hands. No wonder I heard that you have a lot of women. I didn't expect you to be so romantic. Let Miss Kai Ning coquettish. Ha! I like to see it too. Miss Kai Ning can't lose to your sister. Come on. Kai Ning was humiliated and annoyed. Seeing Li Dun gloating at her misfortune, she took out 3 willow leaf blades out of nowhere. With a flash of cold light, the 3 blades flew towards Li Dun's nose and eyes. Li Dun cried out in alarm. He did not dare to dodge in this situation, or the blades would be aimed at the crowd. He quickly channeled his Zhen Qi into his palm and grabbed the 3 blades that were enough to cut his head in half. At such a close distance, if Li Dun hadn't reached the early phase of the Khanate stage, he would have died. Li Dun broke out in a cold sweat and smiled sheepishly. I almost forgot that Miss Kai is the flower reign of the group of 8. TSK, TSK. Luckily, I didn't use my full strength. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to take it head-on. But Miss Kai, you don't look like you have hidden weapons in your clothes. Where did you get the blades? Kai Ning looked at him coldly. You live up to your reputation as one of the 2 kings of Yanjin. If you're really curious, I still have some. Do you want to try pear blossom needles and peacock gall? Li Dun shook his head. Forget it. That's not something I can handle. Having said that, Li Dun glared at Yang Cheng. This is all your fault. Why did you ask the heroine to coquettish for no reason? Leaning on the couch, Yang Cheng yawned and smiled. I just feel that girls should be more lively. Otherwise, life will be boring. You have to have some hobbies. Kai Ning snorted. What about Roashi? She should be much colder than me. Aren't you still married to her? Yang Cheng couldn't help but laugh. This shows that you still don't understand her. Our Roashi is actually quite lively inside. She likes to watch mushy Korean dramas, pink Hello Kitty, and even likes to eat glutinous rice balls. Come to think of it, it's kind of a popular attribute right now. Hiss. Right, it's Sundara. Kai Ning curled her lips and said sourly, Our family is so intimate. Since the relationship between husband and wife is so deep, why did you come to provoke us sisters? Embarrassed, Yang Cheng grinned awkwardly. You can't say that. Everyone has their own strengths. Like Ning Er, it's actually quite good to be so calm. It's quite good. Hee. Li Dun looked at Yang Cheng with disdain. There's a saying, wildflowers are not as fragrant as the flowers at home. Get lost. Yang Cheng picked up the wine bottle and threw it at Li Dun. Li Dun caught the bottle with both hands, looking indignant. One more word of nonsense, and I'll badmouth you in front of Tang Xin, Yang Cheng said threateningly. Li Dun became obedient this time. He smiled and said, Actually, old Yang, you're the one who values relationships the most. I know you love everyone sincerely. You're a good man. Miss Tang Xin. Thank you. Thank you. Haha. Seeing Li Dun's sudden change in attitude, Kai Ning couldn't help but burst into laughter. Under the dim lights, she looked like a snow lotus blooming. Yang Cheng also smiled. Perhaps the biggest reason why he and Li Dun could get close so quickly was because they were both shameless. You miser. Why did you come looking for me? Yang Cheng remembered that he hadn't asked Li Dun why he came looking for him. Li Dun said with a face full of grievance, You don't know my old man is very stingy. He doesn't give me a lot of money to chase after women, so I had to save money. I saved money to chase after Tang Xin. Since it's food, I'll come to you if I can. Yang Cheng was speechless. It seemed that he was still not as shameless as Li Dun. Perhaps it was because Yang Cheng had thrown the wine bottle at Li Dun, but many of the men and women who wanted to approach Li Dun were a little worried. So after the 3 of them ate and drank for a while, no one came to talk to them. Just then, many of the people around the dance floor suddenly fell silent. Many of them were staring at the direction they came in. Yang Cheng didn't pay attention at first, but when he saw Kai Ning frowning and looking outside worriedly, he looked up curiously. He saw a man who looked like the manager, respectfully leading a few young men inside. At the front of the group was a handsome man in a black Armani suit and a blue shirt. One look, and you could tell that he was the leader of the group. Although he didn't look arrogant, there was a faint air of superiority about him, as if he didn't care about anyone. The man's footsteps paused for a moment, but his eyes happened to catch a glimpse of where Yang Cheng and the others were. When he saw Yang Chung and Li Dun together, a trace of surprise and confusion flashed across his face. But in the end, he still walked up to the three of them. "Long time no see, Brother Yang. Even the Li brothers are here. How rare," the man said with a half-smile. "Oh, it's young Master Ning. Oh, I almost didn't recognize you. You're so low-key when you go out. What a role model." Li Dun looked at him with admiration and gave him a thumbs up. But to the others, it was as fake as it could be. The man was Ning Guodong, whom they hadn't seen after the incident with Zheng Mao. Ning Guodong seemed to have recovered his usual vigor, but the gloomy look in his eyes revealed the subtle changes in this man's heart. Yang Chung didn't expect to run into this guy when he was planning to return to Zhonghai. According to the situation, this guy was Lin Ruoshi's half-brother and his brother-in-law. But this guy obviously didn't know about it, and he probably didn't give up on Lin Ruoshi. So, Yang Chung didn't want to see this guy. What a coincidence, but it's not something to be happy about. Yang Chung said calmly. If it weren't for the fact that he and Lin Ruoshi were related by blood, Yang Chung would have snapped this guy's neck in Lin Ruoshi's office. So, Ning Guodong must have understood what he meant. Ning Guodong's eyes revealed a hint of ruthlessness. He also knew that he wasn't Yang Cheng's opponent. When he returned to Beijing, he had investigated Yang Cheng's background. The more he investigated, the more shocked he was. This man's background was far more complicated than he had imagined. Although he couldn't get a lot of information, there was a big news that Yang Chung was the long-lost eldest grandson of the Yang family. It really caused a huge wave in the circle of the four major families. Ning Guodong wasn't an idiot. Without full confidence, he didn't want to challenge Yang Cheng's bottom line, nor was he willing to let Ning Guangyao point a gun at him again. So, he casually smiled at Yang Cheng's cold response and said, "We didn't get along in the past, but Brother Yang is a magnanimous person and let bygones be bygones. Since you've come to Beijing, I could do my best as a host. Why don't we have a few drinks?" "Forget it. I'm just here to accompany my woman. I don't want to have much to do with men." Yang Chung couldn't be bothered to look at them this time. At this time, the man in the white suit who had been standing behind Ning Guodong finally snorted and said, "Young Master Ning, what's there to talk with this vulgar ruffian? How is he worthy to drink with young Master Ning?" Yang Chung glanced at the man and felt that he was a little familiar. After thinking carefully, he patted his forehead and smiled. "You're not Yin Buin's younger brother. You're Yin Bushue, right? TSK. It seems that the after effect of the slap I gave you the other day has passed. Is your face smaller than the slap I gave you?" Yin Bushue originally came to accompany Ning Guodong. As the second son of the Yin family, he had never been valued because he had a talented elder brother like Yin Buin. Therefore, cozying up to someone powerful became his most important task. As for the eldest son of the Ning family, of course, he had to fawn on him as much as possible. Therefore, he was also considered as the number one person among the sons of the Ning family who accompanied Ning Guodong. Yin Bushue's face suddenly burned when his scar was exposed in front of everyone. He pointed at Yang Ching angrily and said, "Don't be too proud. So what if you know how to fight in the future? Who do you think you are in front of our young Master Ning?" That day in Zhonghai, Yin Bushue was continuously slapped by Yang Chung until he was sent to the hospital. It was the first time in his life that he had been humiliated. If it wasn't for Yin Buin's lesson, he would have sent assassins to kill Yang Chung. However, it was obvious that although Yin Buin did not treat his younger brother well, he had stopped Yin Bushue's revenge and saved his life. However, before Yin Bushue could finish, Li Dun, who had been gorging himself, suddenly exploded. "Get out of here!" Li Dun stood up and pushed Yin Bushue onto the dance floor. Yin Bushue somersaulted a few times while the men and women on the dance floor screamed and cursed when they saw that someone was fighting. Yin Bushue was a little confused at first, but as he got up and pointed at Li Dun, he wanted to yell at him, but he knew how terrifying the Li family was. Hesitating, he stammered, Why did you hit me?" Li Dun did not care that this was a place where the famous people of Yinjing gathered. He directly spat on the ground and said, "Tui, you keep calling Yang Chung a hooligan and say who does he think he is." Then, Li Dun, am the same as him? Come on. It seems that you're still not convinced. If you're not convinced, then come at me. I will fight you fair and square. Didn't old Yang slap you before? Today, I will slap you a few times. The surrounding people immediately looked at Yin Bushue with fear and pity in their eyes. Although the Yin family was also one of the four major families, Yin Bushue was not Yin Bun. Even if Li Dun really killed him, he would not be able to cause much of a stir. However, there were more people who were confused. Li Dun's actions were obviously on Yang Cheng's side. Does this mean that the Li family will not give face to the Ning family in public for this young man? Where did this young man come from? Many people had strong doubts in their minds, but no one knew who he was. Choi Yun originally wanted to run to the stage to sing, but when she saw that there was a fight, she immediately ran over. When she saw that it was Ning Guodong, she knew that this matter was not something that she, the second daughter of the Kai family, could intervene in, so she obediently hid behind Kai Ning. But her eyes were full of anticipation, as if the fight made her especially excited. Ning Guodong's eyes were exceptionally gloomy. He could already tell that Li Dun's actions indicated that the relationship between the Li family and the Yang family was extremely close. This did not seem to be good news for the Ning family, which was currently the most powerful family. After all, it was impossible for him to reconcile with Yang Cheng, and he did not have any common topics with Li Dun. And according to reliable sources, Yang Cheng had many connections with the Tang family. As a result, the Ning family had become isolated. This made Ning Guodong, who was waiting to become the head of the Ning family in the future, extremely uneasy. Yin Bushue's legs turned to jelly. Fight with Li Dun? Was he crazy or stupid? In the end, Yin Bushue could only hide behind Ning Guodong and beg. Young master, please help me. I can't take a slap from Li Dun. There was a look of disgust in Ning Guodong's eyes. If it was not for the Yin family's current momentum and the fact that Yin Bun could keep Li Dun in check, he would not have brought Yin Bushue out to embarrass himself. But now, if he were to disappoint Yin Bushue, it would only be more disadvantageous for him. He could only bite the bullet and smile at Li Dun. Brotherly, I think we should let it go today. Bushue is a little muddle-headed. How can he be a match for you? Li Dun snorted a few times. Since young Master Ning has pleaded, I will let him go today. Just as Ning Guodong was about to say a few polite words, Yang Cheng, who had been sitting all this while, suddenly said, "Wait, I didn't say we could let it go." As soon as these words came out, the smile on Ning Guodong's face instantly froze. A trace of resentment flashed across his face. This was like Yang Cheng slapping him in front of everyone. Yang Cheng said faintly, "Just now, the person that Yin Bushue was scolding was mainly me. Now that you're pleading for Li Dun on his behalf, you should also apologize to me. If you don't apologize to me here, I have no intention of letting this matter go." Many people gasped. This guy was too bold. How could he ask Ning Guodong to apologize in front of everyone? Even if Yin Bushue apologized now, it would be equivalent to Ning Guodong admitting defeat to Yang Cheng. How could Ning Guodong live in the future? Would the young master of the Ning family still have any face left? However, Yang Cheng had no intention of taking a step back. His temper had been much more restrained since he returned to the country, but it did not mean that he could let it go easily after being scolded. Most importantly, he did not like to meet these people.